Trick number 2. I'll never forget. Oh, it's good. You'll be shot. Clown car. You take it out. She starving me with her damn chicken feet. Sticky bomb. Sticky bomb.
Yeah. That's why.
Officer, right on time. Get over here. Officer, take her out. Boom. Boom. Got you. Take me out with my own baby. Ouch. Ow. You hit me with the shoulder. Ha. Officer, we got her. Give her. You don't get it with the sticky bomb. Officer, sticky bomb. Sticky bomb. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And one more just for good luck. Boom! Thank you guys for watching. Please be safe out there. Watch out for Momo. Arms up, you gonna hit me in my oh, dang! This is broken. Can I return it?
America.
Oh, you got a receipt. Oh, yeah, no, you cannot. Guys, I've been looking online and I've heard.
All right, y'all. Welcome to a podcast edition of Hanging with July and Will. Basically, what's going on is we're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs. We're gonna look to the next round in the NBA playoffs, and we got a special guest coming on the podcast as well. A guy, pretty cool guy. I know he's from U3 Sports Talk. If y'all not following that podcast, y'all please follow him. I'm about to bring him on in a few. We got my boy Jeremy Anderson coming on the podcast. He wanted to talk about the Phoenix Suns beating the Lakers. He's a big Suns fan, and he's a legit Suns fan. Like this guy, as far as how long I've been knowing him, he's been a Suns fan. As a matter of fact, when I was doing a little competition, when the group first opened, he won a jersey.
Towards the camera.
Okay. He actually won a jersey. Let me bring my buddy Wilk on. Jeremy Anderson. What's up, Wilk?
What it do, baby? Oh man.
Hold on, Wilk.
Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and select some mattresses. Get that up on it.
What's up, Wilkie? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, yeah, okay, Yeah, I was just saying about Jeremy Anderson, how he a legit Suns fan. When we had that competition, the group, the jersey that he picked was a Devin Booker jersey. And when I had went to Louisiana, I went the back way because I had to go to Dallas first. I passed through Alexandria, and where he from, I went drop off his Devin Booker jersey. So Jeremy Anderson is a legit Phoenix Suns fan.
Man, you know, I know that, like, I've been knowing that man for years. Like when the Hawks had Jeff Teague and all them boys, and we was garbage. That man was riding with them Suns. That man been a Suns fan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's my dog though. Sprite my dog, man.
But yeah, I was just telling about the other special guest we have too, Sean from U3 Sports Talk. Yeah, if y'all not following him, I'm about to bring him on now. Y'all please go follow him. Follow his podcast on U3 Sports. What's up, Sean?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing today?
What's going on, son? Good, bro.
Can't call it, man. Can't call it.
What's up, Jeremy? How you doing?
Sons and Six in the building, man. What's up?
Talk your stuff, dog. Yeah.
Six in the building, you know? What's good, man?
Yeah.
What's going on? Hey, Sean, I know you went to the Hawks and Knicks game. My dog Wilk, he a big Hawks fan. I told him I went to the game, so yeah, he a big Hawks fan, big Trae Young fan. Me and him had a big debate about Dominique and Carmelo a few months back, but yeah, he a big Hawks fan. But Sean, just tell us about yourself. Tell us about your podcast, because like I said, like I was telling everybody else, man, I always go listen to your podcast whenever I can when I'm at work. But just tell us a couple of things about your podcast.
Yeah, man. So, U3 Sports Talk, we started it actually in June. January of this year. Me and two longtime friends of mine decided to get together and do it, man. And, I had done some sports, media stuff back in the day. I had a show I was producing and co-hosting for a while, so I've been out of it for a little bit, but we decided to come on and try to do this live stream podcast thing. So, been doing it. It's growing, every day. And again, appreciate the invite to come on and talk, because I always love to come on and talk some sports with anybody.
Oh yeah, that's what we love to do. And just to tell you a little bit about me and Wilk, I was actually, doing YouTube recordings for fun, just talking about sports. And then me and Wilk, I had brought him on with me to do a recording of a show. We wasn't doing live, we were just recording. And I seen when me and Wilk would debate, like it'll get heated. Like I just told you, like we got in a couple of heated debates about Jimmy Butler, about Carmelo and Dominique. Like we got in all kind of heated debates, and we disagree on a lot. But
Right.
it's a lot. It's good chemistry with us. That's when I told him, like, hey man, I'm gonna try to start taking this YouTube stuff serious. You want to come on with me? And he was all good. And we just started doing live like maybe a month and a half ago. So we just started doing live.
Mhm.
And Jeremy Anderson, we actually got a Facebook group, and he actually helped grow. Well, what's up, SB Sports Talk? And he actually helped grow the group to what it is right now. Like we started like almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, and our group, our Sports Talk group is like almost at 3,000, and he helped grow that group. And for him help grow the group, the admins of the group, we all chipped in. We got him a Devin Booker jersey, and I went go bring it to him whenever I went to Louisiana to pick up my kids. So that's Jeremy Anderson. But we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna jump right into it, man. The first we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna talk about the Phoenix and the Lakers. Now, Sean, you're not in our sports group, but most people, including me and Wilt, we picked the Lakers to win. Most of us picked the Lakers to win. Jeremy Anderson, by him, I think Jeremy Anderson, a couple of members of his of his circle, of his family, they probably the only people I know that picked the Suns. But he picked the Suns. He said, what you said, Jeremy?
Sons and Six, man.
Sons
That's
and
gonna be
Six.
my hashtag until next season. Any series going forward, that's my answer. Sons and Six. Even if they're not playing.
All right, Sean. So I want to start off with you. What surprised you most about that series?
I think what surprised me most about the series, well, because I'm gonna be real with you, I picked the Lakers in 6, and the only reason why I picked the Lakers in 6 because I had two concerns. One, Phoenix. When you first get to the playoffs and you got a lot of your guys, this is their first time. I was concerned that the moment would be too big for them, particularly going up against the defending champs. And then the second thing was the lack of size in the front line outside of Ayton. I was really concerned about how Phoenix was going to deal with Anthony Davis. So I picked the Lakers in 6, but I knew that Phoenix team was not going to be an easy out. To be honest with you, I was surprised. Definitely, Game 1 I thought really defined the entire series because I felt like the Lakers took Game 1 for granted a little bit, particularly Anthony Davis. And even though the Lakers won the next 2 games, I just thought Game 1 really truly defined what the series was. And Ayton, I mean, I knew, obviously as a number 1 overall pick, as a guy, coming in with a lot of defensive prowess from Arizona, I thought he would be really good in this series. I just didn't think he was basically perfect in this series. And he, and Booker, who, I'm going to say this as a Heat fan, I was livid during the 2015 draft that we didn't take Devin Booker. I was sitting on the couch like, if we don't take Devin Booker, I'm going to lose it. We took Justice Winslow. That's another story for another day. He's supposed to be in Miami is my point. But anyway, whatever. The point is Devin Booker obviously is a star. I mean, the dude's a star. He's one of my favorite players to watch. And then obviously, Chris Paul. But just even Jay Crowder and Bridges and Cam Johnson and Cam Payne and even Frank the Tank coming in, getting some good minutes for him, as well. So this Phoenix team is not to be slept on any level, man. They're not to be slept on at all.
Oh yeah, and I know Booker, and we're gonna get into Portland on the next topic. But the thing that most surprised me about the game last night, because we all know Booker, he started off hot. He ended the game with 47, 40, 49 points, something like that. But the most important part of that game to me was when the Lakers was making a run. Like Phoenix had that leadership from Chris Paul to come down, assisted on 2 threes. Then he hit a big shot. I mean, the Lakers had put it down to 10. And Will, I told you I was going to call you if you get close. I was getting ready to call you if the Lakers would have got it in single digits. I was getting ready to call you. But Chris Paul came down. He calmed the team down. And the reason why I'm comparing them to Dame, because we was in the same situation with Denver when we had a 14-point lead right before the fourth quarter. And instead of Dame calming them down, chill, he just coming down and shooting threes. But Chris Paul, he came down, he told the team to calm down. He dribble, found the open man, shot the 3. Another possession, he was wide open. He could have shot the 3. He waited till the defender came closer to him and got it to somebody else, and they ended up hitting the 3. And then the next possession, he came in and he hit a jumper. Like the game went from 10 to like 18, like real quick. and I think that was the most important part of the game, that leadership from Chris Paul. And of course Devin Booker, he was on a mission last night. I'm gonna go to you next, Jeremy. I know you picked the Suns, but what surprised you most about that series?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, y'all covered everything. Like, I don't have to say nothing. I just sit here and nod my head. Y'all covered everything I was going to say. But I will say this, man. Me and Wilt have had like personal sidebars about the draft with Ayton going 1 and Luka being there. I said Luka probably is gonna be the best player out of that draft. Then you got Trae Young, and then you got Ayton. Luka can make a legit argument for being number 1, but at the same time, you don't go with Luka when you got somebody that could be as dominant as Shaq. Well, I don't want to say Shaq, but just dominant in general. You don't pass on a dominant big man when you have one to go with the flashier point guard. And in this series, Ayton shot like 80%. Like that's crazy. Even for somebody that shoots in the paint a lot, he definitely took advantage of his size and dominated the glass too. It was shocking that he was up there fighting with, Davis and Drummond and Gasol, and Lakers had the size. Lakers had us beat from a size perspective, and I always said that if we were going to win that series, we had to find a way to dominate their glass, or we had to be hot. And it was one game where Lakers just killed us on the glass, but we were hitting shots. And I think it's game one. They was killing us on the glass, but we weren't missing. So we got up big, hitting threes. Then the next games, they started going in the paint. AD was getting fouled like he was Dwayne Wade in the 06 finals, man. Had me upset. Dude was living at the line. He was 18 for 21 from the line in one of those games. And then the next one, he was back there like 16, 17 times. But my boy Booker, man, I told y'all Booker was the bucket. He started off quick, had a slow in the middle, but in the closeout game, the man gave y'all 47 reasons for why I changed my name to Suns and Six.
All right, Wilk, what surprised you most about the series, Wilk?
Well, I'm glad you asked it like that, man, because I think y'all covered a lot, But one thing that I do want to touch on, I think is very, very important, is the Lakers have a very big front line, right? You got Andre Drummond, you got Anthony Davis, you can bring Marc Gasol in there, you can bring Montrezl Harrell in there. The poise and the dominance that Aiden showed up against all those guys, that really surprised me. Not saying that he's not a talented guy, but this is his first playoff run. He's a young guy, a young big at that. And you knew they were going to test him with those guys, and I think he more than held his own. I know you said he shot like 87% or whatever for the series, but I think inside 10 feet or something like that, it was like 97%. Like ridiculous. Like he absolutely dominated. He absolutely controlled the glass. He was a great deterrent at the rim as well. The blocks won't show up as being dominant, in the stat sheet, but he deterred a lot of shots, man. He contested a lot of shots when guys came in. I think that was a big thing in that series, man. Like the physicality showed by Aiden, and I was thoroughly impressed because when you look at it, I know Sean mentioned Big Frank the Tank. We know Kaminsky gave him good minutes, but Aiden was that guy that controlled the paint that series from rebounding the ball, being physical, contesting shots, and then scoring when he needed to score. Another thing that I wanted to point out is Chris Paul absolutely controlled the pace and the tempo each game. Even the games that the Lakers won, Chris Paul was still in control, except for when he got the little injury scare and all that. But it's just, when you got a scorer like Devin Booker, you got young guys like Bridges, you got a vet like Crowder. Y'all already know how I feel about Crowder and the Crowder effect.
Yeah.
With every team he's been on, y'all already know how I made a post about it. Y'all already know how I feel about it. But when you got a guy like Chris Paul that can stabilize everything, get guys to where they need to go, the communication aspect, I think that goes so unnoticed at times because we like to see the flashiness. Devin Booker, we gonna always remember, he came out with that killer mindset. He dropped 47. He killed in the first quarter. He set the tone for what type of game it was going to be for the Suns. But when they needed to control that win and keep that margin of victory, Chris Paul was that guy to come in and settle everything down. And that's very vital. You know what I'm saying? But I really do think DeAndre Ayton was that guy, man. Like he really established himself against some of the bigs from LA, man.
Yeah,
all right,
and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you got it.
No, and I was going to say to Wilt's point. That was absolutely true. When you look at, and I don't want to compare the Suns to the Clippers, but having a floor general, and July referenced this earlier, having a floor general when things get crazy, when things get tight, a guy who says, you know what, we're all right, I got it. And Monty Williams had no panic on the sideline because of having a guy like CP3. And even though he wasn't 100% in terms of his health, that guy, he's just, and everybody kept talking about, LeBron. I said, they have a mini LeBron on their team. He just 8 inches shorter. That's the only difference. It just turns his IQ and understanding moments and how to take over and when to do this and do. That guy is just like that. So, yeah, that's a great point, man. And again, everybody looked at the fact his shoulder wasn't right. But the fact is, his presence on the floor matters.
Oh, it
And
definitely did because one thing I forgot, man, Cameron Payne, bro. Like, pay Cameron Payne. He whatever he get in this summer, he earned it because whatever Chris Paul is teaching him, he's out there doing it, man. It's time for him. Like, man, we signed Cameron Payne. I don't know what Phoenix doing. Like, I don't know where they're going with it, but he's been with Chris Paul. His whole mindset changed, mentality changed. Dude was a completely different player. And
yeah, he didn't have a big game last night, but you could tell that he was just missing layups. To me, he was just missing layups. He was attacking. Every time he had the ball, he was just attacking, and that was something I really noticed about him. That Chris Paul made him a whole different player.
yeah, he turned into an energy guy.
But what do y'all think is next? Do y'all think the Lakers need to make some adjustments, or you think they just was injured so they couldn't compete, or you think they should make some changes? I'm gonna start with you on this, Sean. Do you think the Lakers should make some changes, or you think they should just run it back?
The first change they need to make is they need to sit Anthony Davis down and have a very serious conversation with him. And it needs to be two parts. Part number one, we got to get your body right. You are our future. We're paying you max dollars. Whatever you're doing isn't working because you can't stay healthy, and you haven't been able to stay healthy your whole career. Now, we already paid you. You got to do this. That's the first thing. The second part of that conversation with Anthony Davis needs to be, we need you to move to center full time. In today's NBA, he's a center. I know he doesn't like playing center because he doesn't like the physicality, but for the Lakers to remain a viable contender in the West, given Golden State's coming back next year, Utah's not going nowhere, Jamal Murray's coming back next year, Phoenix ain't going nowhere, clearly, you got to move to center. And LeBron, we need you to move to the 4. LeBron at the 4, AD at the 5, and then you figure out the rest around it. That allows you to play faster, particularly as LeBron is older now. It's time for him. You're not a small forward anymore. You're 6'9", 250. In today's NBA, you're a power forward. You're lucky you ain't a center. So, move to the 4 full time, and let's figure the pieces out around you both, and particularly, again, as LeBron is older now. They don't have a lot of cap flexibility, which is their biggest issue. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Dennis Schroeder, whether or not they use him as a sign and trade, and whether or not they decide they're going to take on a trade exception for Dennis Schroeder, or depending on which team he goes to, if that team has something that the Lakers would want in return in terms of players. So he's kind of the key for me this offseason, what they figure out, what they do with Dennis Schroeder. Because again, they're capped out and they don't have a lot of money to do much. They're going to be playing with a lot of veteran minimums and the mid-level exceptions. So they're going to have to change their philosophy a little bit, but they need their two best players, I think, to decide to change position and commit to those positions full time.
All right, Wilk, what's your thoughts on the Lakers? Do they need any changes, or you think they should just run it back?
Well, first of all, you already know how I feel about the AD playing center thing. I mentioned it on the last podcast. That's when they're most effective, man, because when you playing AD with a traditional big, like a Drummond or something like that, you can't space the floor. And you want people say, man, LeBron need to attack the cup. Well, what you going to do when you got a big man that's taking up space in the paint when you're attacking the cup and you're going at a defender? So they were most effective with AD at the 5. And like Sean said, AD really doesn't like the physicality of playing center. So they really going to have to sit down and talk to him because they invested way too much in Anthony Davis. Number one, for him to continue down this injury riddled career that he's having. And also number two, man, we need you to do whatever it takes to win. Like this is the Los Angeles Lakers, man. You know what I mean? I don't really see any avenue in which they can acquire top tier talent right now because they don't have a lot of resources and they're cap strapped. I really don't know what they can do. To Sean's point, they have to do something involved with Schroeder, maybe like he said, a signing trade or something like that. But I really don't know what you can do. And that's an old team, man. You got Wes Matthews. he really can't do it no more, man. Like you got Marquise Morris. I don't know, man. That team's just weird. Kuzma said, he's saying, say what y'all want to say. Anybody that said that man was better than Brandon Ingram,
Behind my face, man.
I really don't know what they can do, but I do know that Vogel's rotations were terrible. Terrible. It was like Lloyd Pierce type rotations. You know what I'm saying? But
not that bad.
I don't know what I really don't know what they can do, man. Like with the situation that they have, because they invested so much into win now. It's kind of hard to see what you're gonna do to kind of fix that, man. I don't know.
All right, what's your thoughts, Jeremy Anderson?
Man, you ain't gotta say my whole name like that, man. But no, man, like I'm gonna be unbiased with what I'm about to say, because if you know me, you know that I loathe the Lakers. Never liked. I'm glad they lost. I love when they lose. It makes my day better. But 3 things has to happen. Wilt said 2 of them with the position swaps for AD and Bron. AD need to go ahead and find out whatever LeBron doing to get in that fountain of youth. He needs to figure it out, because he is too good of a player to remain injured the way that he is. He always has these lower body injuries when he's the most. It's like he can't carry the load or something. I don't get it. But the way the Lakers acquire talent has always been through trade. It's never been through the draft. The best player they drafted ever is probably Magic Johnson. He was number 1 in 19. What was that, 79 or 80?
79.
Since then, 79. So since then, the best player that they've gotten in the draft that they've actually drafted, the highest, I think might have been Andrew Bynum at 10 or something. And then they had
Worthy.
Oh, well, yeah. Granted, outside of that, when they have the top picks, it's not good draft classes. So they don't necessarily build through the draft, they build through trade. I mean, they are known for finessing deals and getting disgruntled players for cheap. So, granted, with their trade history there, I see them getting maybe they take Schroeder and Kuzma and probably Drummond, maybe package them together to try to go holler at the Wizards for Beal or see what it'll take to try to get Lillard. They're going to try to make a big splash that way. And with the way Schroeder played and the way Kuzma played, the chances of that actually happening are probably slim to none. But they're going to probably try to flip those people to get another star in there. And then they're going to have to sign a bunch of veteran minimums like the Nets did. But the Nets just so happen to be strapped in the right way. They got a 2 guard, a 4, and a point guard that are all young and relatively healthy. So it's going to be tough.
First, before I say my take, Sean, this my boy Nelson Weezy. He coming on the show. I asked him to come on because he wanted to talk about the Kwame Brown situation a little later on, so I'm gonna let him get into that. But I'm as far as the Lakers goes, I think it was Charles Barkley who said last night. He said in order for them to be a championship contender now, AD has to be the best player now, because LeBron gonna be 37 years old at the end of the year. Like you could see during the game last night, he ain't got them young legs anymore where he could go 40, 45 minutes. I mean, Frank Vogel had to take him out the game when they was making a push because he was tired. So AD has to become the best player on the Lakers, and LeBron could be that second best player. And I think KCP, I think he got a no trade clause, I think. So that's gonna be another piece that you're gonna have to work in and make sure he good, make sure he content. But I don't know. I hear people, I see people saying, "Oh, Dame gonna want to go, Bill gonna want to go," but I don't see how they could get them players. Like I really don't see how.
Yes, they don't. So with Drummond, they don't have any rights to Drummond, right? Because they don't have Drummond's bird rights. He's an unrestricted free agent. So basically, there's nothing they can really do with Drummond. If they want to bring him back, it's got to be at the most they can do is the mid-level exception if they want to bring him back. I don't see them bringing him back. Kuzma's interesting because Kuzma took less money to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers value as a franchise, they tend to value that loyalty. So I don't know if they'll necessarily want to move, Kuzma like that. I know there'll be teams that'll be interested in Kuzma, but I don't know if they'll do it just because, he took less money to stay. KCP is interesting because he's with Clutch, sports, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If LeBron wants him there, he gonna be there. So, they're just it's not gonna get any better. And the comparison I make, unfortunately, is the last 5 years of the Kobe, Lakers.
Ooh.
Kobe got older, wasn't always healthy, obviously. And they tried to get Dwight Howard. They tried to get, they had Pau Gasol still there. They got an older Steve Nash. They kept trying to, put these pieces around, and it just wasn't working. And I don't believe LeBron should be the Lakers' second best player at this point. I think he should be their third best player.
Sean,
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was gonna say that. I was looking at it. Just if you think about it, it's like Phoenix, right? So you got Booker and you got Aiden, but Chris Paul might be the most valuable player on that team.
Yeah.
But he's not even the top two as far as talent, in my opinion. I think that's Booker and Aiden. I think the same way with LeBron. He cannot carry that same load that we typically used to him carrying. I'm glad you said that.
And the Lakers have been through this before because this happened with Kareem. As Kareem got older, they said, hey, Magic, listen, this got to be your team now. We can't just have you go down and facilitate. You got to take on more scoring load. Hey, James Worthy, you were one pick in the draft for a reason. We need you to take on more of a scoring load. And Kareem was able to slip into that third role seamlessly. And he could still have his moments. But at 41, he wasn't that guy anymore. And they won 2 more championships. I think that's what the Lakers have to figure out. Do they have that second guy? Is it Schroeder? I don't think it's Kuzma because it's just no. But they got to figure that out. Like, who's that second guy if Anthony Davis is going to be that number one guy?
Right.
So we see, yeah.
All right, Nelson, you got anything to add on to that last topic about the Lakers? You're on mute. Can't hear you.
Come on,
All right,
Rick.
Chuck.
Without the headphones.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys made a lot of really interesting observations about the state of the Lakers. With Drummond, the part that you mentioned, I don't see why they would even want Drummond back. When it comes to looking at in retrospect at his capabilities, what he's offering, it boils down to a healthy AD. But I think you made a really cogent point with Schroeder because something seemed off with him. I know we see the memes and we joke and things of that nature, and he is an inconsistent player as far as streakiness, but he actually has a fire. He's normally typically a much fiery player. So I suspect that he was hurt or something. There's maybe more to the story than what we know as far as his numbers being as decimated as they were. It was very strange to see that. So I do expect, actually, if they bring someone back, it's not a lot of luxury that Lakers have as far as salary cap and things of that nature. So if Schroeder is going to be at that discount, everyone made fun of the $80 million that he turned down. If he's going to be available at a discount and they believe in the guy, we may see him back and we may see a different story as far as actually how the performative level that he'll be at. So I'll just say I'll keep a close eye on him. I think you guys both made a great point as far as LeBron being a third tier, but still the number one leader, similar to how Chris Paul is in Phoenix. So I think you guys made a lot of good points on that.
All right.
Some of that, whatever hex Kyrie put on Schroeder to wear off.
Oh man, they got some voodoo hoodoo on Schroeder, man. Something going
Got
on.
to, man. Because think about it, man. Like as soon as him and Kyrie got into it, and Kyrie got it from that game, Schroeder ain't been the same. He had the COVID protocol thing. I don't know if he got it or it's a contact related, and he was in a shooting slump from then on until the end of the season. It's like he turned down that money, and his skill level just fell off a cliff or something. Man, it was weird.
All All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna talk about the first game last night. We're gonna talk about Portland and Denver. Since Portland, my squad, I'm gonna go ahead and go first. And Wilk, you touched on it earlier in the Facebook group about about CJ McCollum and Norman Powell. In my humble opinion, that's why I'm wearing a CJ McCollum jersey, because it's hard for me to say this, but I think it's time to break that him and Dame backcourt up and commit to Norman Powell as our number 2 guy. And the reason I say that is because Norman Powell is a good 3-and-D guy. And I think when Gary Trent was starting, now I don't think Gary Trent better than CJ McCollum at all. But I think he fit perfect. I thought he fitted perfect in a backcourt with Dame because he was a defensive guy. I mean, in the playoffs last year, you seen him guarding LeBron sometimes. I mean, he was committed on the defensive side more than CJ is. So I think the same thing with Norman Powell, but Norman Powell better than Gary Trent. So I think moving Norman Powell to the 2 and having Dame, stay at the 1. I don't think we should totally break everything up, but I think that's a big move we have to make. And that piece that we get for CJ McCollum, I think you mentioned John Collins, Wilk, if I'm not mistaken. Get a piece like that, or get another big, or do something to make our team defensively, because in the past years we haven't been good defensively, particularly in that back court. Because Dame, he not a defensive guy. CJ not a defensive guy, but they both great scorers. Like CJ, he could go for 40. Dame could go for 40, but in this series proved that we just need to separate those two, and we need to start thinking more of the defensive side. I'm gonna start with you, Wilk, since you brought it up to me in the group earlier. I'm gonna go to you first.
I just think they got to do a lot to help Dame, man. Like you said, me and you got into a heated debate earlier whenever y'all traded Gary Trent for Norman Powell, and I was trying to play you a little bit like you didn't know who Norman Powell was. Norman Powell, hooper, man. I like Norman Powell, but you can't win with those 3 guys on the perimeter. They're too small, man. They can't defend when you go up against these elite big wings. It's just hard, man. So in my opinion, I think the move is to move CJ, and you can get something nice back for CJ, like a 6'7", 6'8", 2-way wing that you can pair with Norman Powell and Dame, and then you can go out and you can acquire a guy like John Collins, which I don't want y'all to get my dog, but I don't want to pay him the max either. That's a whole other story. But I think it'll be a pretty decent trailblazer. Terry Stotts got to go too. He got to go. Stotts got to go, man. Stotts got to go. Yeah, he got to go, man. And then Nurkic. I don't think Nurkic. Let me be careful here, man, because he got some game. I think Dame would be better suited with an athletic rim running big. When you see how Trae Young operates with a Capella, you can toss that lob, or you get in that mid-range area, you can throw the little floater or the little mid-range game. I don't think Nurkic is that guy. Nurkic is more of a man. Give him the ball on the block and see what he can do. They tried that a couple times with him. That last game on Jokic, and he really couldn't do much. I don't know, man. With the way that team is currently constructed, I just don't see an ideal fit with Nurkic. You know what I'm saying? Not a knock on his game or anything, but give Dame an athletic 2-way rim runner. You know what I mean? Surround him with a shooting power forward that can stretch the floor. And then you get him an elite 2-way, a big small forward, and you pair that with Norman Powell and Dame. I think you'll see a better Portland team.
And the crazy thing is, I told you, I said, man, we should have made the move before the trade deadline. Like, we should have made the move to trade CJ to get Aaron Gordon, and to come to find out, Aaron Gordon go to the Nuggets, and he hit the shot to basically end our season because that was a dagger.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. I don't know if I like the fit with Aaron Gordon with Nurkic though. I don't think y'all have enough shooting out there with Dame, because Aaron Gordon ain't really shooting the ball like that, like at a high clip for you to just respect it. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think Aaron Gordon would have been a great fit. Now defensively it would have worked because he competes on the defensive end and he's a big body, but on the offensive end, if you don't have enough shooters around Dame, then I mean the defense can, send a double team at him real quick because you ain't really got to worry about the shoot. I mean, I don't know. It's just weird, man.
This what I was thinking. To begin the series, we had Derrick Jones starting out there. I don't know why. I don't know why Terry Stotts had that man start, but by the end of the season, you see where he was at.
Right.
But anyway, this was my thought. My thought was to trade CJ to get Aaron Gordon, move Gary Trent into that starting 2 guard or that starting off guard role, and I figured with you still had Melo coming off the bench, you still had Simmons coming off the bench. I thought that still would have been enough offense for us, and that would have tremendously helped our defense. That's what my thoughts was. And I was telling you about Powell. I knew Terry Stotts was going to try to start all 3 of them people at the same time because Powell was too good to come off the bench. And I told you that he was too good to start off the bench. And I said that was gonna hurt us. But yeah, I'm gonna go to you next, Nelson. What you think about that series and what you think Portland should do next?
Yeah, I mean, the series made everybody, a little bit more sympathetic to Dame. I mean, he was putting up some Herculean efforts. Some of these numbers, some of these 3-pointers that he's making out here look arcadish. It looks ridiculous to watch. So yeah, it definitely makes the rest of the others look bad, and what Brandon said, I'm trying to digest that whole rim running big and then the Nurkic dichotomy, because that actually, Aaron Gordon actually makes sense for a rim running big, but then is there a market for Nurkic? And then when you said we're all looking at how Powell kind of flourished and came into his own as far as maturity, what is y'all's opinion if you juxtapose Powell to Gary Trent Jr.? What is your opinion of those 2 players against each other? If you had a choice now in hindsight, right? Hindsight is 2020. Who would you want?
First, we got some background. Well, first off, Powell is definitely a better player than Gary Trent. My only thing about the trade for Powell, like I told Wilt, I knew Stotts was going to try to put him at the 3. Now, if we was trading Powell, it would have made sense if we would have traded Powell for CJ McCollum. That would have made sense to me. But the fact that we traded Gary Trent, a bench player that was our 6th man, the fact that we traded Trent for Powell, I knew that was going to weaken our bench. And I knew he was going to start Powell at the 3, which wasn't going to help us defensive wise in a game. That's why I was so mad about the trade, because it wasn't going to help us defensively.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with that. And as far as Terry Stotts, he has been there forever. Some of these lineups are somewhat questionable, so I'm not sure really what kind of dirt he got on the ownership to be able to do this, to be able to not produce actual results. But now, when you look at Dame, there's a lot of comparative analysis to him and Steph Curry, right? So we always looking at Dame saying, "Oh, he's hitting more threes than Curry." They always pull up the graphics on the screen talking about, look at the deep threes, Dame shooting more than Curry, like really trying to compare him to Curry. But when you look at Curry, besides this year, he has had a Klay Thompson, and I wouldn't put CJ on a Klay Thompson or a Bradley Beal type level. And in my personal humble opinion, I don't feel Bradley Beal is the number 1. I think me and Wilk have talked about this as well, as far as him being a winner. But a Bradley Beal playing next to a CJ, could that be something that's formidable to where you could maybe playing next to Dame? Playing next to Dame, could that be something where you trade a CJ and then trade a mortgage a lot of the future, trade a lot of your picks, do whatever you got to do to go get a player on a Bradley Beal level? Is that something that you guys would be interested in?
Hey, Reezy, I would take Dame over McCollum, but if you get, I would take Beal over McCollum, but if you trading McCollum for Beal, you essentially doing the same thing. You still got 2 small guards that they don't really play defense.
Right. It's not a great defender, but I do see someone who's a little bit more of a catch and shoot guy. Something about CJ where I see somewhat of a limitation of his game, kind of like IT. If you notice that after he was hurt, he needed that, that twitch fiber quickness. And that's one thing I noticed with CJ. He just seems a little bit smaller or plays a little bit smaller, where he's not able to just pull up on top of anybody. Just with no regard like a Clay or, and in my opinion, a Bill could do. I feel like Bill could actually fill it up or be a better player than CJ. You're right. It doesn't fix the perimeter defense, but at the same time, you're getting someone who is more of a, in my opinion, more of a volatile weapon. You know, this guy could put up 50, or if Dame is off or something like that, he could be like a Clay, where Clay just would, you know, erupt on fire sometimes. And we forget about, like, wow, he's actually saving Curry right now. You know.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you believe C.J. McCollum can put up similar numbers that Bill's putting up if he was in Washington?
Yeah, I think so. It's just something about the way CJ scores that it's almost like the defense has. He takes what the defense gives, and Beal just takes what he needs.
Well, and that's my point. I think Sprite said it is more to me like a lateral. It's like a lateral move, because if McCollum, given the same volume and opportunity that Bill has, could get similar numbers. I'm not saying he'll be second in the league in scoring, but he'll be up there. Like if CJ had his own team and he was in Washington, CJ would probably average about 27 a game. I'm just throwing it out there, but it's different when you're playing next to another high volume guard and Dame as well. So that's why I think as a lateral, they both just two small guards, and you'll put numbers on the scoreboard, which Portland does already, but you're not stopping nobody else. Like, you ain't stopping nobody.
One phrase that we never really hear anymore is two-way player. Right.
Right.
What is a two-way player? Do you think that would actually fit the Portland structure? Assuming Nurk stays there.
Hey, let's go to Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so I played with some trade scenarios a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about CJ McCollum on another stream, and the best trade scenario I found for CJ McCollum that would actually probably help Portland is to send CJ McCollum to Toronto for Pascal Siakam.
Ooh.
But you keep Powell.
Okay, hold on.
Siakam, okay. Actually,
and he's at the 3 or he's at the 4.
Where you play him either one.
Either one. Him and Covington, you can switch them. Yeah,
you can swap either one of them. They kind of hybrids in that way. But Siakam provides range shooting. We obviously know what he can be defensively.
Right.
He's not a guy who needs a lot of touches to be effective. So Siakam would make a lot of sense.
And you're pairing him back over Norman Powell, and they bring in the championship pedigree.
Yes,
right. Rebounding as well. Rebounding would be improved.
Rebounding, the defense. I think he probably needs a reset from Toronto because they had some issues last year, so they might be looking for a fresh start. And Toronto's going to lose Kyle Lowry this offseason. So you get CJ to essentially replace Lowry. You put him in the backcourt with Van Fleet and Anobi, and they have Boucher, who they like a lot. So they'll still be competitive in the East, but it's time for them to reset, essentially. So Siakam in Portland would make a lot of sense to me.
That's a really good That's a really good idea.
Awesome trade.
Does anybody see? Does anybody see Dame demanding to leave?
No.
No. Because I see the narrative being pushed right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, just to touch. I'm gonna come to you next, Jeremy. Just to touch on your CJ to Washington. Would he average 27? Before he got hurt this year, he averaged 25. Before CJ got hurt this year, he was on his way to being an all-star. He averaged 25. So I definitely.
I don't know about being an all-star, son, but you try to say.
Okay, wait, look, he averaged 25. But what you was gonna say, Jeremy?
Man, when Sean said Siakam, man, I was thinking of a scenario or a player that could probably help Dame. That wouldn't be a lateral move, but Siakam kind of threw off my train of thought when he said that. But a player that people aren't talking about that needs to be a number 2 and not a number 1 is DeMar DeRozan. Like, he's a very solid player, but if he was a legit number 2 next to a big dog, I think his game would be different. But I don't know what his contract situation is, if he's going to be a free agent or
He's a free agent this offseason.
I don't think you're a championship contender with DeRozan as your number 2 option. I think he's an elite 3rd option. I don't see him as I think he's an elite 3rd option. That's just me. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before one time.
Is that a belief level? He said one time.
Yeah. I think you're right. You know, I mean, I tell people all the time wrong. I might be wrong, but I doubt it.
right. But yeah, he's definitely a complimentary piece. I would definitely say that he's something that someone's going to help somebody else. He can't be the guy. We've seen it in LeBronto and how that worked out for him, and it just wasn't it. They just shipped that man out for.
I have an idea for like just to shake up like a crazy idea if the Portland wanted to swing for the fences, right? Danny Ainge is out in Boston, right? So Danny Ainge has moved on. Now we have Brad Stevens. They've had made the mistake in the past of hoarding value, right? And it hurt the Celtics in the long run.
Yeah.
True. What about Jaylen Brown? Why not throw the house? You know what I'm saying?
Not getting rid of Jaylen Brown.
Boston not letting him go.
They can't move him.
Boston not getting rid of Jaylen
Well,
Brown.
here's the thing. Hear me out, though. Hear me out. I feel like someone like a Michael Porter Jr. is more untouchable than a Jaylen Brown, right? Because he's younger. He has all this promise, things like that. If you could sweeten the package with CJ, could that fit Celtics what they're doing?
I think Boston would be insane to trade Jaylen Brown
because of his defense. Is that because of the defensive prowess?
His defensive prowess, and just he's just a perfect. He's a great number 2. I think he's a Pippen. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think he's a number 1. I think he's a great number 2 next to the right number 1. I think Tatum has shown flashes that he will be that number 1. You want to build around that twosome for years. And again, I'm not comparing them to Jordan and Pippen, but they are.
Play together. Do you think they play together with a smooth level of continuity or chemistry? Because it does seem very hesitant.
The big issue
who takes over.
I think the big issue they've had. I'm sorry, Will. I didn't mean to jump in front of you.
Oh no, go. I'm gonna piggyback off you when you get done. Go ahead.
I think the big issue they've had since they've been in Boston. Well, 2 things. Number 1, when they both got drafted there, neither one of them were expected to come in and do something from day one. They kind of got thrown into that fire, and they both really have, I think, in their careers, kind of, met the mark as number 3 picks. But also, when they get there, it's Kyrie, it's Gordon Hayward, and then they move off and Horford, and then those 3 guys are gone. And now you got Kemba, and you got a bunch of other pieces, that they're trying to figure out. Because, again, Danny Ainge made a huge mistake this past offseason. He had a chance to use Gordon Hayward to get Miles Turner.
Man.
Sign and trade. And he turned it down. And I said, you have no size. What are you doing? Tatum, I like Tatum, but Tatum shouldn't be playing the 4.
Nope.
And so that's the big issue. So they just haven't had, I think, a cohesive vision for what that team should look like outside of them since they've been there. So I don't want to judge them based on what they've done there as a duo because it's just been a lot of turnover. They can't keep free agents for whatever reason. And so I think that's been the bigger issue. I believe in both of them together with the right complementary pieces. That's a championship contender in the East, without question. And they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 5 years. I don't think anybody should really sleep on that. So I'm sorry. Will, go ahead, brother.
Go ahead, Will.
I think the dynamic of that team changed. To your point, it's the continuity with the players around them. They had the Kyrie. They had the Gordon Hayward. You bring in Kemba Walker. You lose Al Horford. You lose Jay Crowder. It's a lot of pieces that's been in and out. But like you said, it forced Tatum and Brown to grow and mature quicker as players. In my opinion, I think they need a floor general type point guard, right? So when you look at 2 elite 2-way wings, I'm getting feedback. I don't know who that is. When you look at 2 elite wings, 2 elite 2-way wings with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I'm gonna flip it over to like the Clippers, right? You got Kawhi Leonard and you got Paul George. What wasn't working? they didn't have a floor general, so you insert Rondo, right? If they can get, and I'm not saying this player specifically, how would Alonzo Ball look in Boston? A floor general that's going to play defense, right? How would Alonzo Ball look there, and then you build that front line? Man, that's a legit contender in my opinion. And that's all I want to say. I don't think
more rebounding too.
Right. I don't think Kemba necessarily fits them because he's a score first type point guard. Man, you need a point guard that's going to get the ball to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in these spots, and it's going to play hard-nosed defense. That's going to
You know what player doesn't exist anymore, or a style of player that doesn't really exist anymore? I would say Jason Kidd. Because Jason Kidd was a big guard where he was like, you're not necessarily extremely tall, but you have a certain amount of grit where you could guard people in the post. You could rebound. You could get you a triple-double if you need a triple-double. I mean, even towards the end of his career, he learned how to shoot like set three-pointers and things of that nature. So that kind of like that veteran, like almost like a Chris Paul, but a better defender, in my opinion. Jason Kidd was like somebody who would guard a two-guard, a lot of times. It does seem like what you're saying with Lonzo might fit Boston as far as someone who's gritty, doesn't need a lot of numbers, but could pile up a lot of assists and a lot of rebounds. So
how would a Malcolm Brogdon look? Like you need somebody that's gonna give it to you defensively and that's gonna get a ball to these guys in their spots, and then from there, man, you got to build that front line.
Right.
Yep.
So what do you think is the biggest mistake, Sean? I heard you say that you thought that the Boston not making that acquisition was a mistake. So do you think the Lakers not going after Kyle Lowry was a bigger mistake compared to Boston not going out and getting the big man? Who did you just mention? I'm sorry.
Miles Turner from Indiana.
Oh yeah, Miles Turner. So Miles Turner, yeah, exactly. So adding that kind of defensive presence compared to Lakers, now that we look in hindsight, AD was gone. They could have probably used Lowry.
Oh, without question. I mean, here's the thing, right? And that's what I always tell people. When you sign an aged superstar who still believes that he's in his championship window, you fast forwarded your timeline, which is why you trade your young assets to get Anthony Davis. Kyle Lowry is an upgrade from Dennis Schroeder, part because of his playoff experience. Now, I know he had his playoff failures, when it was LeBronto and everything. Who cares? He's shown in the last couple of years he's that dude in the playoffs. As good as Kawhi Leonard was, Kyle Lowry was Toronto's leader. And adding that with LeBron and with Anthony Davis, I think changes the whole narrative, for the Lakers. And the only reason why it didn't happen is because they didn't want to give up THT. Now, again, I'm not a Laker fan, so I call it like it is. THT, to me, at best, he's just Shannon Brown with better handles.
Wow.
No disrespect to Shannon Brown, but he's going to be a very good role player for a long time, but he's never going to be that dude. Let's just be clear. So you hold on to THT because you don't want to get Kyle Lowry when you got 97-year-old now LeBron James. So it's time to, like, at a certain point, you have to say, hey, listen, we're all in trying to win this thing for the next couple of years because it's not going to get better as LeBron gets older. I think it was a bad mistake on their part not getting Kyle Lowry.
And I see a comment on the screen right now talking about, I feel Lowry sounds nice, but he's going to come up short. I actually don't think that the come up short narrative exists anymore, just like how Sean pointed out. He may have had the LeBronto past, but he's a certified leader. At this point, he killed that entire narrative. Like, he killed that entire narrative. When we saw what he did in Toronto, even after Kawhi had left, but during the championship run, he was when it comes to mental resilience in the face of adversity and actual mental toughness, it's not even a comparison when it comes to Schroeder.
Hey, wasn't Kyle Lowry the one who made that pass in the playoffs that extended that series against against Boston last year? It was a pass he made, a inbounds pass he made to the corner guy in Toronto, and they hit that three in the playoffs to extend the series.
I believe that was
to Anunoby for their game.
Yeah.
One of the best passes.
Against Indy. one of the best inbound passes
That
I
was
ever
the
seen.
boy. That was a dot looked like Peyton Manning, boy.
Kyle Lowry is a certified winner. I mean, he's a leader at this point. I mean, I don't think anybody can really doubt him.
One thing I want to say, man, I think we get so enamored with, and rightfully so, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Kobe Bryants, and maybe I shouldn't say it like that. It's only one Michael Jordan, only one Kobe. But we know these guys can take over and do what they need to do to get it done. Lowry's not that type of player. So to say he's gonna come up short, I don't think that's the right verbiage to use. The thing is, at this point in his career, to Sean's point, you get rid of THT, you bring in Kyle Lowry. We acting like LeBron James about to be playing for 10 more years. Man, you're in a win now mode. So get Kyle Lowry. He helps you more to win now than THT did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you bring Lowry in. We alluded to it earlier with the Chris Paul effect, right? Devin Booker was killing. But when the game started to get relatively close, let's bring Chris Paul back in to get everybody back under control. Let's finish strong.
Right.
Man, Kyle Lowry can do the same thing when LeBron goes to the bench. He can run your offense. He can keep guys motivated. He can set the tone. You know what I mean? Kyle Lowry, the one dude in the league that's going to take the charge and get the whole team amped up. You know what I'm saying? So it's the little intricacies of the game that Kyle Lowry brings that can help take a team like the Lakers to being a legit championship contender. It should have been, But I think that was a big mistake by the Lakers, though, man. Like THT. Like, don't get me wrong. He'll be a good role player. He showed some flashes. I made a comment earlier that I was impressed that he wasn't afraid. He wasn't scared to shoot the ball last night. For real. But he ain't Kyle Lowry either.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if y'all saw the Lakers played Toronto later this season and in LA and Kyle
Toronto
Lowry
waxed them. Toronto waxed them. Yes, I remember.
He went for like 35.
Y'all look real stupid right now for not making that deal the way this dude is going on.
And head up, you're seeing Lowry versus Schroeder.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's talk about this game that played tonight. Is it tonight? The Clippers and the Mavericks.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to you first, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
What's surprising you about this series so far, and what you think gonna be the end result?
I can tell you nothing in this series is surprising me. The Clippers are clipping. This is what they do.
Clippers gonna clip.
They are gonna clip, and this nothing is surprising me. And I said this on the stream a couple weeks ago. We were on, and I said the LA Clippers are the worst professional sports franchise in North American history.
Oh wow!
Jeez.
I mean, look at never been to a conference finals.
Yes, they're the worst.
Hey, I honestly thought what happened to them last year would have humbled them, would have had them hungry. Like I picked the Clippers in 5. Wilk, I think you picked the Clippers too. I can't remember.
I did too.
Yeah, like I thought PG and Kawhi, they've been playing good basketball, but in the fourth quarter, I don't even when they made that run last game in the fourth quarter, it's like the role players the ones who brought them back.
Yeah, Tyronn Lue. I mean, was that the hugest mistake as far as the ownership for the Clippers was bringing Tyronn Lue in and not bringing a hard-nosed, maybe like a Thibodeau, maybe a Jason Kidd, maybe someone who could bring a different voice, a different strategy, maybe even go out and get you an old man, go get you like a Larry Brown, a Rick Adelman, somebody who would bring you a different type of voice into the locker room. Was Ty Lue a major mistake?
Yep.
I mean, it looks bad now. I mean, look at what Doc's doing in Philly.
And Doc Rivers said it ain't much different because he's sitting right by me. I
mean, and Doc doesn't talk about guys like that. So for him to say that, I mean, it just tells you everything you need to know. Here's the thing, right? And I've been saying this for the longest. At a certain point, we need to own what Paul George is. Paul George is that rapper who had a great song back in 2013 that still gets in the club for free. Why? He ain't had a hit song in 8 years.
That's that Joe Budden pump it up. Oh my goodness.
Basically saying he Jay Quan.
Yeah, basically.
Oh no.
Yeah, everybody in the club getting tipped. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he
Rich
is.
boy.
Oh my
This
God.
is
Yeah.
what this man
Rich
is.
boy,
He
man.
had a
Throw some
great
D's
hit in
on him.
2013, and
This
because
man,
LeBron dapped him up, and because Jay-Z said, "Hey man, that was a great song," everybody's putting this dude in that category. But when it comes time to make another hit song, it's always
Oh my God.
Man, that was
It's gonna be real hard not to think of
shot.
him like a Trinidad James, pop the Molly, I'm sweating, and then you never hear from this person
exactly
again.
like you never hear from him again. It's like that's literally what he is. He been riding.
Now, could that be the
2015
injury?
forever.
Could that be the injury? Because I mean, if you snap your leg the way Paul George snapped his leg, because we saw a fiery Paul George in Indy. When it comes to the playoffs, we saw him battle LeBron. We saw potential superstardom, right?
Yeah.
Then you snap your leg at the shin, and that thing is hanging and dangling off. That's PTSD. That's you're gonna have some post traumatic trauma. Does that take years? How long does that take?
I would give him that if he wasn't an MVP candidate his first year in Oklahoma City.
Second year. No, that was the second year.
It was the first year.
The first year was when
Melo was the first year.
It was Melo, but then that second year when he was all NBA first team, that was the second year when Dame Leonard had hit that shot on him. That was the second.
Okay, well, one of them years, one of them years when he stayed there.
Yeah, and I'm an Oklahoma fan, so he had a health excuses. He said that he got both shoulders, both labrums worked on. He had an elbow, he had a lot of fluid in his elbow, and he got the knee. So as soon as that second year, when he had the good year, he actually had the horrible letdown against the Jazz, where Westbrook, I think, shot like 60 times to get 40 points.
Right,
And Paul George didn't want to shoot the ball. Yeah. And he had I think a total of maybe a terrible amount of points in the fourth. And then as soon as that game was over, here comes all the pictures on Instagram and stuff of surgeries. And I mean, they really they made sure everyone got them hospital pictures to say, look, man, I wasn't right. Without saying it, basically saying my body wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, listen, how many times we going to get this dude a pass? I mean, let's just be real. How many times are we gonna keep giving him a pass?
I mean, he's a meme at this point. Pandemic, way off P.
Yeah, way off
Pandemic P. I mean, we coming up with a new name. Pretty soon he might be food stamp EBTP.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, Jeremy Anderson. Is Jeremy Anderson on? Or he froze. I don't know what's going on. All right,
he looking like Wesley Snipes over there with the black out.
All right, Wilk, I'm gonna go to you next, Wilk. What's surprising you most about this series, and what's your end result?
Well, for me, man, it's the play of Tim Hardaway, right? So when Tim Hardaway has a pretty, decent game, it seems that the Mavericks seem to win that game. I think we all wanted Porzingis to be that number two for Luka. And due to health reasons, I mean, we can call him kind of like the white Anthony Davis when it comes to being frail and fragile. He's never healthy. And, the fact that Tim Hardaway has stepped up in some of these games, I know Luka is going bananas, you know what I mean? But you always got to have that second guy. And Tim Hardaway, for me, man, I think if Tim Hardaway has a good game, the Mavs might be able to close that thing out. And considering how they kind of got rid of, well, I don't want to say got rid of, but they weren't able to retain Seth Curry. We thought that bench was going to take a big hit, but you got guys like Jalen Brunson. You got guys like Trey Burke. You got guys like Finney Smith was started though, right? But I just think Tim Hardaway is the biggest surprise. And you can just go back and look at the numbers. It hinges on is he performing or not. And that's kind of it's weird, man. But I just wanted to go back to something. I was gonna tell Sean something, man. He gonna pick up on this too. Hey, that boy Kenny, aka July, he gonna find a way to get them Blazers players' names out there. It ain't have nothing to do with Dame. Dame hit that shot on him. Hey, just peep game, man. He gonna get the Blazers in there, man.
Hey,
man. Why are they defending Luka better, man? Why would you in a playoff series never ever do full court pressure? Never ever have a double team that's so hard where everybody else has to rotate on a string where you have to be moving on a swivel. Like, why is there not a situation where they take at least one game to say, let's bully Luka. Let's make this dude complain about physicality like he had to do in the regular season. I just don't understand how you can get to 2/3 court or half court and literally be jogging and walking up and spinning the ball and like he's having fun out there. He's smiling, laughing, joking after plays. Luka does not like physicality. How come somebody's not pushing this dude around?
I just
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, Joe. I know. Go ahead, bro.
Well, I just want to talk about what Wilk said about Tim Hardaway. I don't even have to look at the numbers. I just have to watch the fourth quarter of the game. When the Clippers making a run, Tim Hardaway, he been making big shot after big shot after big shot in the fourth quarter whenever the Clippers making a run. And Tim Hardaway definitely stepped this game up. And I agree 100% with you on that take.
Yeah, don't sleep on the contract year thing being a big part of it too. Right? Contract year dudes step up.
He actually started playing well last year, though. If you really look at Tim Hardaway Jr., because I used to make fun of, he ain't gonna be as good as his daddy.
Yeah.
But last year he was surprisingly. It seemed like him and Luka have a good chemistry as far as that kick out.
Yeah.
He's always where he needs to be. Luka can kind of not even really be looking at him.
Yeah, like Tim Hardaway. He also should be known for being able to rob the New York Knicks twice in his career. They paid him twice and let him go. But no, Tim Hardaway is solid, man. Definitely real solid. He's a good compliment to Luka. And I didn't hear the stuff about Pandemic P because I was having issues with my connectivity. I had to go reset my router. But Pandemic P and Kawhi need someone to lead them. Ty Lue ain't it. Ty Lue's not a leader. Ty Lue is they know what to do. I'm gonna just watch them do it. He's a game managing coach. They need to get a point guard that's vocal, that can lead them, like give that to Rondo full time, or go get a coach that can get that extra bit of leadership out of Kawhi, because Kawhi's not a leader. He's somebody he'll go do his thing, but he's not going to be able to galvanize the troops to get this team to play better than their means. When he was in Toronto, he was the perfect piece. Like, he was just like the cherry on top of a ready-made cake. And he put him over the top. He left that, went to LA, and tried to force the team together. But if you're not that leader, you're not ready to take that role, you're going to do what the Clippers have done the last 2 years. And that's get high expectations, but come up short in the end.
And losing at home. You're losing at home, and that's one thing I don't really understand is, like, we see the games 3 and 4 where the Clippers look impressive. They look like they actually had some damn drive. They look like they actually gave it down, and they won 2 games in a row that nobody saw them winning. What do you guys expect tonight? Do you expect again on the away they're gonna do it, or do you see the game kind of getting out of hand? They lose composure, and then boom, the series is over.
So I think
jump in there, Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
So for the Clippers to win, the Clippers' MO is they have to jump out on you early, and I mean by they got to get up 20, 25 points. If the game is close, they're losing because they find a way to nut up. They find a way to nut up. But this is what they've done all season. They are one of the worst executing teams in the last 6 minutes of games, and it's not even close when you look at the other teams in the last 6 minutes of games. So they have to jump out early. To answer your question about why they don't get more physical with Luka, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard aren't those defenders anymore for 40 minutes. Both of them are dealing with bad. Well, we already talked about way off P and his injury history, but Kawhi's the guy bad knees, and Luka is a guy where you want to get in his space, but Luka's actually strong. People don't probably give him enough credit for how strong he really is.
A big boy.
And when you watch his footwork is somewhat of a guy 10 years his age. He is very polished. He knows how to use his footwork to get open. You can never speed him up. You can't. He plays at his own pace. So he's a very difficult cover.
Doesn't he look very comfortable I mean, doesn't he
Yeah,
look
yeah,
like he's almost like playing with pillows out there? Doesn't it
yeah.
look like he's just super
It's
comfortable?
yeah, it's the Clippers. It's the Clippers.
People
Yeah,
laughed at
yeah,
people
yeah,
laughed at Paul Pierce when he brought up the comparison to
yeah.
himself and Luka.
Right.
But if you look at Luka's poise,
Mm,
it's a lot like Paul Pierce. Like Paul
Yeah.
Pierce brought it
right.
up wild when he said it, but he had a point. Luka plays like somebody that's 29, 30, showing people that he's the truth. He's only, 22? He might be 21, 22. Like, he's definitely established himself as being a threat and a problem until
And
injury stopped him.
yeah,
I like that Paul Pierce comp.
yeah, he's always, to me, he reminds me of Larry Bird.
Yeah.
But he's got some LeBron in his game because, again, he just sees it before everybody else sees it, and that's what makes him unique. So he's a problem.
I see a lot of Harden. I mean, because you make a point with Paul Pierce is like not extremely athletic. Bird as well, but with Harden, he seems like a taller Harden the way that he has the step back mechanics.
Yeah.
And then he can get into that lane where it's a physical pick and roll. Again, that's another thing that's a little different. His pick and roll is very physical. So again, that big body, Luka is very strong to your point.
Yeah.
And then that last minute alley-oop that he likes to throw is very similar to Harden. Like I think Trey figured it out with Capella. Now that last minute alley-oop, and he got that going on with Powell. He got that going on with what's the other dude's name? The big man for Mavs that always be getting dunked at the end of his drives.
Oh, you're talking about
Cauley Stein.
Cauley Stein. Yeah.
Cauley Stein. Right. So I mean, he's right in the lane. He's doing that, and then it's Boban too. Sometimes he'll throw the oot to Boban. Boban don't even jump. He got.
I got a question. I got a question though, because I think y'all brought up some interesting points, and Sprite, you kind of touched on it. So when you look at Kawhi Leonard, right? He was in the Spurs organization. He won that Finals MVP when they won the championship, correct? Then he went to Toronto. He won that Finals MVP, right? Is it safe to say? Now I know he's a superstar. He's a superstar. This might sound crazy what I'm about to say, but I want to know if I'm crazy or not. Is it safe to say Kawhi Leonard is better suited joining a team with an established culture and leadership? He just come in and do his thing versus building around him.
You are 100% right.
I would say yes, as far as like a San Antonio, for example. Like the actual structure was good coaching. Yeah. But as far as what he did in Toronto, I do want to give him some respect that Ibaka and Lowry both immediately after the championship said, before Kawhi even landed in Toronto, he texted us and said we won the championship. Then by the time he gets to Toronto, people were like laughing and saying like, "Oh, this man is like out here in punishment." Pop sent him out into into Alaska or somewhere. But then he gets to Toronto. They said that he changed the mentality of the entire team. This is how we work out. This is how we talk. Act like he's going to win a championship the entire time. So I think he's probably trying to do these things in LA. But one thing that really may have dismantled his ability to build that type of trust or rapport with his teammates was the load management. The load management made Paul George and Kawhi, we saw the reports coming out and people try to offset them. Lou Will said, "Oh, it's bullshit. Load management. We ain't mad. We don't feel like these guys are privileged. VIP." I think that does hurt the locker room. It does hurt the locker room if people think that you're ready to go and you set out a few games. And so maybe that is karma. What they're seeing now is like no one really is following Ty Lue, and no one's really gonna follow Kawhi, and definitely no one's following PG. EBTP.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
All right, y'all.
That's a good one.
I
think Sean had something.
Oh, my bad, Sean.
No, you good. No, you good. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to get into to this last topic, but anybody else got anything to add to the Clippers and Dallas?
Let's do predictions for tonight.
Clippers by 7. Clippers by 7.
I want to see the Clippers win.
Game?
I don't have. It's in
Dallas,
and they play better at away.
Oh no!
But I feel like they have to at least show us something. So I'm going Clippers just out of pure. Make it respectable.
I respect it, but they in D-Town. Nah, I think Luka.
They won 2 in a row in D-Town.
Hey, Luka finna pull a Booker, man. I got him going for 50 tonight.
Mm.
Send them boys home. They go into the shadow realm, man. It's over with. Because they're keeping them around, man. The Clippers had the chance when they won 2 in a row to step on their throat, and they didn't do it. Like, you cannot give somebody like Luka more confidence than what they already have. He about to take them dudes soul tonight, man. And you can quote me on it. You can snap. You can take a picture of it, screenshot it. Luke going off tonight.
Who you got, Will?
I think what we're saying this year, man. Booker did what he had to do in the closeout game. A young star, right? We seen Trae Young in the closeout game, a young star, right?
Fire.
It's time for Luka to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Luka to close it out, man. My heart telling me to pick the Clippers because I did pick the Clippers to win the series. I just don't.
Me too.
I don't know, man. And I think Porzingis owes us a good game as well. Now you said a 50 piece by Luka. I don't think a 50 piece wins it. I think Ty Lue is going to try to adjust and send everything and the kitchen sink at Luka. And I think it's going to be Luka's playmaking ability. And I think guys like Porzingis, I think guys like Kleber, I think guys like Finney-Smith, and I think guys like Tim Hardaway got to step up. I think it's going to be a group effort tonight, man. But I do think Luka go be in the 30s, though. But I think it's going to be
I got a quick question, though, before we move to the last topic.
Sean got to go, too.
What if Lue decides to take the old Kobe route? Let Luka eat and shut everything else down. Does that get the Clippers a win?
I don't think so. I don't trust the Clippers. I don't trust the defense. I mean, Ibaka has been a non-factor, right? Injuries and things of that nature. Right. I don't see who's the body. Is it going to be Batum? Like who's it going to be? Like who's going to stop?
I think they're gonna, like Wook was saying, they're gonna throw different looks at them, but they gotta double team Luke and make him give it to Finney-Smith in the corner or something, bro. They have to do it.
Do y'all want to see the Clippers in the next round, or are they that disgusting where I don't even want to see them play in the next round? I want to see Luka in the next round.
They will play. I don't know.
So yeah, I'm paraphrasing Mobb Deep here. Ain't no such thing as halfway champs. The Clippers are halfway.
Hey, let's go.
Halfway. That's the great description. Wow.
Hey, Sean, I want to start with you on this next topic, our last topic. And I still want to go listen to your. I think your homie name is Anti. I think I still want to go listen to that interview with him and Kwame.
Yeah,
that was Anti. Yeah, but yeah. I never heard your thoughts on the Kwame Brown situation. This whole situation was going on with him. What's your thoughts on Kwame Brown? Your total thoughts. What's your thoughts on what he's doing, how he handled it? What's just your thoughts?
So first thing, I can imagine, he's an easy target, right? Because he's a guy who really didn't talk during his career, really didn't do a lot of media. He was kind of, kept to himself, for obvious reasons or whatever. I wish he stopped calling himself a bust. When you play 13 years in the NBA, you're not a bust. Now, maybe you didn't live up to being the number one overall pick, but I always like to remind people, no guy drafts himself number one overall. And if you look at the situations he went to in his career, obviously going to Washington with an old Jordan coming back and then going to the Lakers with, a guy who ain't easy to play with, or wasn't easy to play with in Kobe. Because, I ain't never heard somebody say how much they love playing with Kobe Bryant. Let's keep it real. Whatever. Anyway, it didn't really help him as a young guy trying to find his way, not just in the NBA, but as a young guy trying to find his way in life. So, I understand why he's talking now. My only concern for him is what's your end game? Because he keeps going at folks and you keep talking about people and you keep attacking folks. What's your end game? He made some comments about Breonna Taylor that were way off base.
Really?
And I'm just like, dude, stop talking. Like you're 13 minutes into your 15 minutes of fame. Stop talking. But what's your end game? What are you trying to accomplish here? Because it just seems like he really is clout chasing at this point, and it's becoming embarrassing. And you looking just to have your name trending for nonsense. I mean, you're essentially a Kardashian. So I hope at some point he figures it out, and he has some in game, whatever that might be. But right now, it just doesn't seem that way. And I don't want to see him end up having to apologize down the line for stuff he's doing now because he's not thinking about, the bigger picture.
I don't know too much about it, but I think I heard someone on your podcast say he put his Cash App on his YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. But Nelson, you had a strong little opinion about it in the group. I want you to explain your take on the Kwame Brown situation.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to see him have to end up apologizing or putting his foot in his mouth. So you have a great point on that part. I think one thing about Kwame that we are inclined to do, or we have a proclivity to do, is we look at celebrities in this virtual world, right? And in a group, I try to explain that as a keyboard gangster mentality. We saw it a lot with Trae Young in New York. Right, the type of things that the New York fans were saying are highly disrespectful. I mean, again, yes, it's all sports and jokes and fun, but we have a video compilation in the group where players are talking about. I mean, New York fans are talking about, "I'll shoot this dude. We'll beat up Trae Young after the game. He's scared of birds. Let's make fun of his hair. Let's do it." And then it gets to a point where they start saying things about someone's family and. It's a little bit ridiculous because, a lot of these dudes are 5'2", damn near 300-pound couch potatoes. So when you put them next to a 6-foot Trae Young in person, that may not work, But as far as the celebrity status thing, people that are really well known, like Michael Wilbon, Stephen A. Smith, even a higher level player like a LeBron. Let's say LeBron and Jordan Clarkson have an argument and it becomes public. Everyone's going to side with LeBron based on your celebrity status. So the amount of your celebrity status is your amount of rightness, because we have this idolization culture where I'm only going to side. If Michael Jordan has a problem with somebody, we all siding with Michael Jordan. I don't give a damn who you are, because Michael Jordan is so great, right? So immediately whenever Kwame talks, the first thing people are always going to say is, this dude is trash. He's trash. You just shut up. He's trash. He's trash. He's trash. And then we see in retrospect that Eton Thomas came out. Oh my goodness, there seemed to be a concerted effort to destroy this young man's confidence when he was 17 years old. Michael Jordan didn't want him. They actually really wanted to get some older players in there. And that's something that I think similar to what LeBron probably needs to do as well, is get some older players, because you're a veteran player. You're more comfortable with older players. Didn't nobody want Kwame. So he was in a weird situation where, yes, he was drafted much too high. Then that's going to be held against you. Then on top of that, you're getting basically tortured by Doug Collins, and then you're getting tortured as well by Michael. And they said it was Eton Thomas. Was 4 Wizards players that came out and said, this is what happened. It was not Jordan. It was Collins. They said they did an entire draft workouts. I think all the other players were like Tyson Chandler, a couple of the big men that were potential high draft picks, and they did workouts, and Kwame destroyed all of these people. The first few Wizard workouts before Collins got there, Collins was on a sabbatical. He destroyed all the Wizards players. So when Collins gets there, some weird personal vendetta or vindictive thing was going on that's bigger than basketball. People say, it's part of the powerful people or somebody of that nature, because why else? Even the four Wizards players said, we don't understand even how Stephen A. Smith heard about Kwame at 17, because Stephen A. Smith admitted, a white man told me to, go out and do this tour and do this college tour. But when somebody's 17, 18 years old and you're Stephen A. Smith, before you get to, quite frankly, right, you're still just a columnist at ESPN, you go to campus to campus to campus to campus and do an entire comedy stand-up routine about how much you hate Kwame Brown and how incompetent he is and how he has no work ethic and how he's not working on his game. That's basically attacking my integrity as a person. I mean, you can say, oh, it's just a player, it's just a player. No, when you actually talk about this person has no ethic, he's lazy as hell, and he's stupid, and basically it was just that kind of mentality. When you talk about that, it was strange seeing a 39, damn near 40-year-old Stephen A. Smith go do that tour and then get, quite frankly, right after, almost like an audition, if that makes sense. but then
Right.
he kept riding it. You don't hear about Darko every year. You don't hear about Tiago Splitter every year. Yeah, Stephen A had fun with some of these white players, but every year it was a punching bag. It was a thing with Kwame. Now, as far as the positivity things or where is he going, one thing I will say is if you watch one of his episodes, he had Devin George on, one of his former Laker teammates. And when he had Devin George on, they were talking about Black youth, right? Black masculinity. What can we do? So Devin George is doing, he has an entire business setup or template where he's buying homes for more impoverished Black families. So Kwame said, hey, I want to use my platform now that we got past this whole negativity thing. Let's use the platform for positivity. It got really not very many views. But when he says something, when he goes at Becky with the good hair, when he goes at Steven Jackson for being a fake gangster, when he goes at Stephen A. Smith, what the hell are you doing at them colleges, boy? You know, when he goes through all that whole thing, people love it. So I do think, to your point, Sean, is that may be a part of our pop culture setup, that we preference a negativity bias, right? You get 1,000 comments on your YouTube, everybody, 999 of them say, you're great. And then one of them say, you ugly as hell, your forehead big and you ashy. You only going to look at that one negative comment because that's how our psychology is built, right? We have a negativity bias. So Kwame understood that, and he got almost, damn near 300,000 followers. So I think he's actually somewhat intelligent. I haven't heard the controversial statements with that. It seems like he leans more conservative as far as the political spectrum. I myself is apolitical, but I will say, as far as positivity, where is he going? I will say two things that I really like. I like the fact that he's pushing the idea of content creation, saying, y'all use my videos and make money. Because I'm seeing people who are more obscure YouTube channels. Is that me?
It's me.
Okay. I'm seeing more obscure YouTube channels getting 100, 300, 400,000 views using Kwame's content. Now, Kwame could do the copyright strike thing. He could do all this stuff. He said, hey, I want everybody to eat. But on top of that, can y'all put your thoughts out there, independent thought that is separate from the mainstream ethos? I think that's important. That's kind of what we're doing. If you look at it, our vibe of this show is not like a First Take. Our vibe of this show is not even like a around the horn, even though it has like that particular look. We have ideas that are more authentic, in my opinion, and that are more of that don't fit normal narratives that are really easy to write. And that's one thing I do encourage, or I do like, is Kwame's encouraging anyone who uses his videos, and he's like, go ahead, everybody make money, everybody eat, but please put in your thoughts, put in your, like, can you tell me where I'm wrong? Let's have difficult discourse. So if I disagree with you and you disagree with me, let's actually have a conversation where I hear what you're saying and actually can see tell me what you were thinking when you said that, instead of me putting my thoughts on what you said, right? And then the second thing was the masculinity. I think it's important that we have people out here pushing that alpha masculinity, because when you look at these others, the manosphere, the Black masculinity thing going on, the red pill community, Kevin Samuels, a lot of that stuff is really, I think it's very beneficial. There's a lot of truth to it, but a lot of it is based on like this idealistic view of having a lot of money, being this high value man. Most of us are normal. Most of us have normal, humble lives. And Kwame is pushing that idea. He's like, buy you some land, get you a tractor, fuck name brand. I got my camo on. He's bringing a more realistic idea to mainstream that's not Gucci and, all these flashy things. So I do like the fact that he's very unorthodox. He's very outside the box. He's pushing masculinity. He's pushing the idea of honor your father and mother. Mama's cooking. I'm going to sprinkle some of Mama's cooking on y'all, boy. And he's funny as hell. Let's be real. As far as actually being able to do an hour-long monologue, I'm sorry, this man is funnier than Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp. I'm laughing my ass off sometimes. He's so organically entertaining. So I agree with you, Sean. He probably needs to be careful as far on a PR perspective of how he speaks. But there's something going on with the Stephen A. situation and the media situation that I think he does have a legitimate point. Now, I do feel he went too personal with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes to start it off. But if you
Right.
think about it, he said, I was 5 years old. I told my mom I'm going to make something of myself. I was homeless, right?
Right.
So it goes from a homeless shelter to being the #1 draft pick. You're 17 years old. You're a child in a man's league, and you're the #1 draft pick. So you're getting beat down by Doug Collins. The media hates you. Stephen A. has a personal pit bull vendetta against you. And throughout this entire time, you promise your mom that she's going to have a life of no drama. You stay quiet. Then you make sure that you fulfill your contractual needs to where that way, okay, we got land, my family's good, I'm not attached to anybody, I don't have any liabilities. And then you turn on the TV 20 years later, and Matt Barnes and Stephen Jackson are basically saying you don't exist. And they still love to say the word trash with your name. He went off.
Yeah.
So I understand it, but I do think, if you can control it and if you can flip it into a positive thing, I think right now he's talking about doing like children's centers, passing out books, trying to connect with East Bay, the old magazine that we used to read, with basketball shoes, giving out these shoes to these kids, especially the impoverished kids that have that are big as hell, like big ass athletic kids without the clothes and without the shoes. That can be embarrassing. So being able to do those things and putting out these ideas of, let me put Devin George on, let me push the idea of, if our ideas don't fit the news and don't fit ESPN, it's okay. And then, honor your parent. A lot of positive things are coming from Kwame, but you're right. He does need to flip it and transition it because it could get stuck in that negative place.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Will.
I'm gonna be quick. Perception is reality, right? So if I perceive something to be true, then for me, it's true based on my perception. The thing with Kwame, like to Nelson's point, I rock with Kwame and I rock with what he's doing because people have been piling on him for years. And he's finally coming out and he's basically taking up for himself and defending himself. The problem that I have is the Cash App thing didn't look good. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't a good look. And that's the perception piece. I think it's some of the little things like that is why some people like, what is, like Sean said, what's the end goal? Like, what are you doing this for? Like, we get that you're sticking up for yourself. We know it's some great things that you want to do and that you want to accomplish. I agree with a lot of the things that you said about Stephen A. Smith and how he was just attacking a 17-year-old and a lot of that stuff. All of that's true. Mm-hmm. But Kwame, you have the spotlight. What are you going to do? What's the end goal? Like, what are you doing this for? What are you doing this? Like, what are you trying to accomplish by doing this? You've developed a platform. And like you said, he's encouraging others to create and do things. What is the end goal? It can't just be it can't just be constant rants. Just getting
he's winging it. Yeah, he's winging it, right?
What's the plan? What's the plan? You know what I mean? Yeah. And what are you looking to accomplish? And that's the only thing I gotta say about it, man. But I mean, defend yourself, man. Do what you gotta do. But what's the plan?
Yeah, he is winging. Go ahead, Sean.
Go, bro.
Well, I was gonna say with black men, it seems that there's one thing that we always are told is to, if you could say it softer. And I feel like that doesn't seem to happen when you look at the Simon Cowells with American Idol. You look at Gordon Ramsay with Hell's Kitchen. One of my favorite shows is this thing called Bar Rescue. And this dude comes in, it's a white dude that comes in, he's a hard ass and he cussing everybody out. Everybody loved like when these white dudes are cussing everybody out and they can make millions of dollars and stuff. But when a black man does it, you need to slow down. How you say it softer and stuff. And I think there's something built into that. Stephen A. was the guy who was able to yell and cuss everybody out. But guess who he really went after the most? Black athletes. Stay off the weed. Like, this was his thing. So there's a lot of video compilations coming out now about Stephen A. And I like Stephen A. Like, first of all, I want to say this dude is a legend, right? You're a legend journalist. You never take away from what Stephen A. does. And I don't agree with all what Kwame does. You don't want to agree 100% with any man because you want to have your mind of your own. So Kwame went way too hard at Matt Barnes. He went way too hard at Steven Jackson. He could have killed that and deaded it, but he was able to flip it and make all these followers. But at the same time, Stephen A., when I look at his past, I don't know if anybody knows about Coach Big House Gaines and how how Stephen A. became Stephen A. Just a quick rundown. He went to Winston-Salem State in North Carolina. And I feel like a lot of people need to hear this, a lot of the Stephen A fans, just to see that people are human and you have a dark shadow side. He was gonna play basketball. The coach, Big House Gaines, was a black coach. He gave Stephen A the scholarship. So this man got free ride into college, right? Then his knees give out. The coach said, I think I made a mistake giving Stephen A scholarship. I'm not going to give this man playing time because he has bad knees and a questionable jump shot. Stephen A did not like that as a player. He said, I need you to retire and resign because you're old. You're having strokes and heart attacks. Now, the black community did not agree with Stephen A. They wanted to kill this man. So Big House Games had a situation where he cussed Stephen A out in his office. And we all know, we've all been in there in sports, your coach is going to, give you a piece of his mind every now and then. Mm-hmm. But Stephen A's response was to write a story in the Winston-Salem, because he was a journalist still and a player. He wrote a story calling for the resignation of a black coach who gave him the scholarship to be there. So you call him for the resignation for this dude. The chancellor of the school wanted to expel Stephen A. The black community they call him Stephen A. Snitch. They wanted to actually eliminate this dude. This was the crossroads where his career actually may have taken a downturn from making this decision. But guess who was the person that threw out the lifeline to want to protect this man? Even though he cussed him out. Big House Games. Mm-hmm. Said, leave this man alone, let him live. That's what we see at Stephen A now. But this guy really, it was started as a retaliatory thing when his knees went out. Big House said, man, look, you ain't got no jump shot. I was wrong. But look, you got a free ride to school. And Stephen A still bit the hand that feeds him and attacked the black coach and eventually got that man fired. So nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Kwame's not perfect. Stephen A's not perfect. But when you see these video compilations coming out and Josh Hamilton, they bring up drugs with Josh Hamilton. First thing Stephen A does is say Barry Bonds is a druggie. Flipped it totally off of the white player. Barry Bonds is a druggie. And he looks like he has man boobs because of steroids. I'm like, wow. But when it came to Josh, he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. But if any black player smokes weed, you get the whole eyes bucking and stay off the weed. You get the whole act. And I feel like I think it's very obvious, the people who own most of media are not black people. We own less than 1% of 1% of media. So when you look at the way we're portrayed, right? Like if a black man is killed by the cops, oh my God, he smoked weed back in 97 and he stole a candy bar when he was 12. Is that justification for this person dying? No. But when Charlemagne comes out and reads every criminal history that Kwame's family ever had, not Kwame himself, his father and his brother, but they demonize him. Oh, Kwame's a killer. He's crazy as hell. He's trapped. And then Stephen A is the same way, the same vibe or the same animosity or the same anger towards black players. He poses it as, I'm disappointed in us. I'm disappointed in black. I want to see us do better. But at the same time, you don't have that same fervor and that same animosity when it comes to white players. And there's a lot of video compilations doing side-by-side comparisons of the same topics with different color players. And Stephen A clearly has a level of anger when it comes to
you got anything to add, Sean?
Let me jump in here real quick. So there's a J verse. He says, I'm not a writer for myself. I'm not a writer. I'm a writer, not a biter for myself and others. I say a big verse, only bigging up my brother. Yes. But we got plenty of evidence out there that you don't just use Biggie verses, you use Slick Rick verses, you use Big Daddy Kane verses, you use Snoop verses, Nas. No, you bite. Let's just call it what it is. You bite. Okay, that's just what it is. Stephen A. Big House tried to save him. His game wasn't good. He wasn't good. Let's be very clear. He wasn't good. It wasn't his knees. He wasn't good. He wasn't good. Just call it what it is, okay? Big House, a lot of people may not know, Big House coached Earl the Pearl Monroe in college. The same Earl the Pearl Monroe who averaged 41.6 points per game his senior year of college and ended up being the number 2 pick in the draft in 67. So Big House knows talent. Stephen A didn't have it. Let's be clear. And again, a lot of it is you think, and again, I'm not going to pick on a particular subset of ballers who come from an area, but there are people who come from certain areas who think because I come from this area, I got it like that. And it's like, no, you don't just because you come from this area. Either you have it or you don't. So Stephen A. didn't have it. That's what it came down to. So a lot of times when he talks like a guy who's ticked off. He didn't make it where he thought he should have made it. Now, what I always talk about is this is why we have to be so mindful of representation, right? 80% of professional athletes are black men, but 81% of people who cover them are not.
Right.
So when you have someone who looks like you that should represent you, that to continue to lift and elevate their platform, which Stephen A. has done, because he talks loud and a lot, it's that James Brown sign, talking loud and saying nothing. Half the time he don't know what he's talking about unless he's talking about the Knicks because that's his team, or the Steelers because that's his team, because he don't watch everybody else.
Right.
And I can go in about people he's talked about, like the Cam Newtons and the Jameis Winstons of the world. He's gone in on, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about right now. Like, you have no clue. Mm-hmm. But you and Skip have used this to elevate yourselves into this stratosphere of celebrity. And I had and I don't even say pleasure because it wasn't pleasurable. I met dude about 10 years ago in a club and got into it with him a little
Stephen
bit.
A. or
Stephen A.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So me and my buddy we were in a club. This is when I was moving to Atlanta, and we were standing in front of a VIP section watching some old Roy Jones fights. And Stephen A. is in there with, no chocolate girls around him in the VIP section. And he's sitting and he's watching the fight. He's telling us we need to move because he can't see. And I was like, no, you can stand up if you want to see.
There you go.
Wherever we want. And at this point, it's 2011, so he's not Stephen A. he is now, but he thought he was, hot, whatever. But I said, you have to pay attention to what he does. This is what he gets paid big money by, let's be frank, the white executives at Disney and ABC and ESPN to do. That's why you see him on 6, 7, 8 hours a day. This is what he gets paid to do. He gets paid.
I paint him as like, he only destroys black people because he doesn't. I mean, again, like you said, he works for ESPN. So you got to walk on eggshells. It's not easy to be, what would you call it, unapologetically black, right? It's not easy to do that. So we don't have anyone that really does that. I couldn't even really say Shannon Sharp is unapologetic. I mean, when you see how he went at Ray Rice and Ray Lewis and Cap. Shannon Trey. But go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to throw a name out there. I really do like Bomani Jones though.
Yeah,
there you go. That's probably the guy that I would like to see in a Stephen A. position, like in that top totem pole position.
He's
not politically correct.
He's not politically correct, and he's too intelligent for that audience.
He's too black. That's because you don't even think of black as intelligence, but that's him. He's the black intelligent person.
Jeremy Anderson, you got anything to add? I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, man, y'all boys been on it. Bonnie too real for that spotlight, man. He not. They'll fire him within a week. But now, man, y'all been on it, and the Stephen A. thing, he did what he did to make money. Like, he made it out the back of being a minstrel show type guy. Like, I don't knock him for it, but you gotta atone for it, man. Like, all of that needs to come out of what you did or how you got there. He needs to humble himself. He thinks he's more than what he is, and just come off the pedestal, man. Stop doing that. Like, you can do your job without tearing down a person. You can keep it to where you talk about their level of play, but not demean the character of that person.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and I'm gonna say this real quick. It's unfortunate that we have gotten into this age of we think because you're doing the most, it means you're the best.
Man, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. How about the phrase, lower your voice and strengthen your argument?
Right, yeah.
Lower
Yeah.
your voice, and the Stephen A is not that person. So, and I think you actually made a great point, Sean, when you said, you know, when you see this ego and you ran into it in the club and you see it after what happened with Big House Gaines, doesn't it feel like kind of like when you go to high school and that one kid that wasn't good, like all the varsity kids will be hanging out on one side, and that one kid who wasn't good is the loudest and who's always bitching and talking about, you know, the seniors now are shitty and the coaching. Like you always tell us everything that was wrong, but you wasn't good. So maybe there's a jealousy aspect that you pointed out that actually makes some sense. But what do you guys have to say about as far as when we were kids, when we were young and Michael Jordan was in the league, right? There was no social media, right?
Right.
So we didn't have really a situation where you could see, because Malice in the Palace happened after, really towards the end, you know, after MJ.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have that keyboard gangster type fanhood that I feel. I really think that Stephen A and Skip both push. Like I think me and Will talked about Skip saying Bosch Spice. That's highly disrespectful. That's not really basketball analysis.
Yeah.
I call Spice Bosch Spice. That's a woman. You call him a woman, and he had to get on the show and check him. Be say like, as a man, I can't let you do that with my wife. You know, other people. And Kwame said the same thing. Like, I have a 16-year-old son. Can I really allow? Does it undermine my ability as a parent to really allow everybody to call me trash and not address it?
Hey, well. Before we get into that, Sean, I know your podcast start at 6:00 your time, right?
No, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Oh, it started at 8.
8
Oh well, I know Wilkie said he had to do a couple of things, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
I have one thing, July. Kenny, whatever you want to go by today. Sean brought up a great point regarding Stephen A. Smith. When he mentioned, you know, he only watches teams. You know, he's not really great at analyzing a lot. I agree with that, and I think what's indicative of that is the Teddy Bruschi look. I know you remember the Teddy Bruschi look at that boy. Baby. The way Teddy looked at that boy, man,
he got like 8 names wrong. He got 8 names wrong. He started naming shit people that wasn't even in the league.
Yeah, wasn't even on the team. I'm like, yeah.
At this point, he is an entertainer, right? Is he just purely entertainment? He's not really analysis. You're gonna give me the Bosch Spices, the West Bricks, the Stay Off the Weed. You know, that's not really analysis.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I feel like Max actually has better analysis when it comes to just pure analytical points or hot takes.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? When T.O. was on there a couple years ago, and T.O. basically said, not to be funny, but Max is blacker than you.
I didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah,
I know exactly.
I understood what he was inferring, but also you got to know Max's history. Like Max, you know, used to host a public access television show. Max was a rapper. Like Max is there's a connection from Max to urbanism that I don't know necessarily Stephen A. Smith still has, because again, he's risen as a pop culture icon. And as you rise, obviously it's difficult to maintain a certain connectivity to it, particularly when everybody's telling you how great you are in your circle.
So Max has a reverence for Black people or Black culture, probably a little bit more, because Stephen A. would be quick to say, I don't give a damn what the Black community thinks. That used to be his tagline, right? Back on the weed, and like Black people would actually hit him up, his Black friends. Jalen Rose tried to speak to him. Jalen Rose tried to talk to him. I don't give a damn what the Black community thinks. Right. But then he said one thing about domestic violence with Skip on there, and Skip was quiet, boy. Skip saw that it was getting bad, right? And he said, never lay hands on a woman. Never, ever lay hands on a woman. There's no excuse for laying hands on a woman. And women, please try not to also, you know, instigate or anything. It's never your fault. Never lay hands. And they immediately, Michelle Beadle went on to Twitter, immediately started excoriating him. I'm going to use his word, excoriated, and immediately started killing Stephen A. And next thing you know, lo and behold, there's a suspension. And again, this goes to the owners of the media, right? It's a suspension. And he's, you know, a white woman basically said, check Stephen A. And then here we go with an apology, you know, and it's a heartfelt, long apology for something he wasn't even wrong about. But when the Black community says, hey, man, take it a little bit easy on Black athletes, I don't give a damn what the blah, 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 blah. It's like this weird, like, defensive mechanism of just, like you said, louder. But could you lower your voice and strengthen your argument?
Yeah,
That's one thing I would like to see out of Stephen A.
yeah. It's unfortunate that I don't think he'll ever do that. And again, as long as he has the platform of ESPN,
10 million.
and they're paying him $10 million a year, and he gets to make his guest appearances on General Hospital, which I don't watch, but as long as he, and he can continue to, again, go on Jimmy Kimmel and shows like that, because he's become, again, this pop culture icon. And this is, let me be very clear, I don't hate, what Stephen A. Smith has become. Good for him. The only issue I'm having is I'm not seeing the doors opening behind him, because I'm not sure he's necessarily interested in helping other people who look like us, who are in these worlds, get in. I don't think that's his desire at all.
I was actually hoping that Michael Smith and Jamel Hill, I was hoping that he would actually be a lifeline for them whenever they were on the outs with the ESPN. I was like, maybe Stephen A. could somehow help them out a little bit, and it was nothing. No.
Yeah, no, but that was never his interest. He's always, in my view, always been largely self-serving. He's largely self-serving.
Very egotistical.
Yeah. He's the person in the rap group that's like, yeah, he can't wait to go solo.
I'm 5 heartbeats. What was that, Bobby?
Yeah, exactly. He's that dude. That's just who he is. And unfortunately, ESPN set Michael and Jamel up for failure. Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't really realize that.
They kind of paper trailed them out.
They paper trailed them out. But I said, the moment you took what they did on His and Hers and you basically retitled it Sports Center at 6,
man,
you killed them. Because
the beginning of the end.
Because the branding of Sports Center has always been highlight driven. It's not opinion driven. And then you changed the 6 p.m. Sports Center from being highlight driven to opinion driven. And they were trying to have some fun with it. They were trying to do stuff they did on His and Hers and on their podcast on there. And the public killed it because of how you branded it. If you don't brand it Sports Center at 6, it does fine.
They had great chemistry. I enjoyed watching Jamel Hill and Michael Smith. Their chemistry was good.
Yeah.
So I feel like that show could have been around for 10 years.
Right. Yeah. And they put them in a window to where, like you said, if they rebranded it wrong, people are getting out work at 5, 6. So let's go see what's on Sports Center. You see,
you want the
about
highlights.
Sports. What is this? I'm not watching this. But if you follow them and watch them, you're like, well, they deserve their shot. Let me tune in because I rock with them like that. But if you don't and you didn't, you see this like, man, what is this? I'm not watching that. So the rating's gonna plummet.
Yeah.
Does this go again to the Disney ownership or the complexion for protection of these ownerships when it says, when you look at if I was Stephen A. and I got $10 million, would I choose these battles and bite, and be this militant Malcolm X? That's actually a hard question. So I don't think Stephen A. is a bad person. Yeah, I think his persona, or they call it a cult of personality, when you become this image, right? It may not even really be you, like Shannon with the Uncle Shay act. It's not really even him, but it's hilarious, it's entertaining. But do you become imprisoned into this cult of personality, or now you're almost imprisoned by your opinions? You can't change your mind. You have to always go harder and harder. Is that what happened to Stephen A? Is he stuck in this image where, damn, I actually wish I could rep for Black a little bit more. I wish I could do this. But if I do that 10 million,
Yeah, I think there's something to that, to be honest with you. But I also think at a certain point, when you become, again, kind of the icon, the cultural icon he's become in the last 10 years, at a certain point, you can say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to go do me. And I'm good enough in doing me that I can still make a great living.
He's big enough at this point where he could be a little bit stronger.
He got the pull to where he can take his name and make his own thing somewhere else and let somebody else come step in his spot. And I think he benefited from And I think Stewart, what happened with Stuart Scott is unfortunate, man. But Stuart Scott was that dude to me.
Yeah, and
Stephen A. is where I thought Stewart would be if his health allowed him to still be with us. Because Stewart was that dude to me when it came to ESPN. Him and Scott Van Pelt, man, that's ESPN to me, to the core.
So I'll tell you this about Stuart Scott. So I'm from Orlando, Florida originally. So before Stuart was on ESPN, he was on West 2 in Orlando doing sports coverage. And we used to go to the same barbershop. The absolute coolest dude, the way he was on TV, that's who he was. Like there was no fake. That's who he was. Just an absolutely nice guy. And again, at the time, I'm 13, 14 years old, and I know him because he's on West 2. And then he goes to ESPN and becomes this megastar. He opens the door for the Stephen A's and the Jamels and the Michael Smiths and the people that have come up because he got a lot of backlash for doing what he did on ESPN. For basically bringing the hood to the suburbs every night on SportsCenter. Some of the quotes he was dropping and stuff like that. Stuff we say
outside the pillow, booyah.
Could
you ever imagine Stuart Scott ever disrespecting a black person on national TV?
No,
not at
ever.
No.
And so he could do what he could do without trampling on someone's respect as a man or as a woman, and especially as a black man or woman. That I will say, Stuart Scott was by far the best.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, hey, Sean, I don't know if you want to, you know how to drop your link in the chat. I was trying to do it, but it wouldn't let me. But yeah, y'all make sure that y'all check out Sean U3 Sports
I'm gonna have
Talk.
to follow your podcast.
Most definitely, man.
Please go follow him. Every time I work from home, Sean. So when I'm at work, I put the volume on real low, so I try to hear y'all. As soon as I go on break, I turn the volume up. Like, I really be into y'all debates.
Yeah.
I wish I could join more, but I'm off every Friday and Saturday, so I'm gonna definitely be on tonight whenever y'all go on. But for the rest of y'all out there, y'all please go follow U3 Sports. That's a great podcast.
Yeah.
But I want to thank each of y'all for coming on here. Thank you for stopping through, Sean. I really appreciate it.
No
Nelson,
problem,
it's always a pleasure. Jeremy Anderson, of course, I had to get you on, and it's always a pleasure with my dog Wilt. Half of hanging with July and Wilt.
Hey,
nice meeting you, Sean, and congratulations just on them sons, boy.
Sean, man, I just want to say, man, I enjoyed this show with you. Hey, you very, very knowledgeable. Speak very well, man. Look, like Kenny said as well, man. I listened to the show. One of them I was commenting a lot on. I just want to throw my Hawks out there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the show, man. I appreciate you coming on and kind of blessing us with some of the knowledge that you dropped. And hey, anytime you want to come back or anytime you want us to just come be a guest, man, let us know.
Hey, man. Listen, man, y'all always welcome at U3, man. Even if we just do a video recording, man, y'all are always welcome. Certainly, man, because again, these are some of the conversations we have on U3. Obviously, it's a little more lively. We got some animated folks.
Hey, I want to get Anti. I want to get Anti on here. I like him. I like him a lot.
Anti's a good brother, man. He and I we talk quite a bit, but. Yeah, definitely. Come on over, man. And like I say, anytime y'all, want me over here, just let me know, man. We'll make it happen. But this was great, man. Appreciate being able to sit on with y'all.
Hey, Kenny, I can say one more thing, Kenny.
Of course.
Hey, look, man, y'all do your boy a favor, man. Look, the Legend Factory .store, man. That's the brand.
Sir.
My son, hey, look, son, my son's name is Legend. That's my son's name, and I got his own brand. It's called the Legend Factory. So that's actually what I'm wearing right now. I know we about to start transitioning. The NCAA, man, these athletes gonna be able to make their own. Yeah. So by the time he get up in college, go and play football, he gonna have his own brand. We ain't rocking Nike, man.
You got shirts and everything.
I got shirts, hoodies, tights, hats, everything. The Legend Factory.
I gotta get me a couple. I gotta get a hat and a hoodie.
Yeah, I'm a t-shirt junkie, man. So I'm always gonna add something to the collection. So yeah, I'll definitely jump on and get something from him.
Yes, sir.
And Sean, man, that insight, man, you drop a lot of gems that I didn't know, so it's good to have that insight. The Orlando situation with Stuart Scott, the Earl, the Pearl with Big House, man, I did not know none of that. So that's actually, I hope people that watch this episode take some notes on some of the stuff that Sean's dropping, because that stuff is it's nothing that you would ever read on an ESPN magazine. And then Jeremy, man, hey, You want to talk any more shit? You want to talk any more shit about LeBron and the Lakers and the Suns? I told you so.
Nah, man, I told you my name from here on out is Suns and Six, man. Just call me Suns and Six. No matter what the subject is, that's my answer. But now,
Hey,
sorry about that, Dennis.
I know y'all.
Sorry,
I know
Dennis.
you got to wrap up. I know you got to wrap up July. Well, real quick, y'all got a prediction for the Suns Nuggets series?
Man, that's a good matchup.
Man,
That's a good matchup.
man, I ain't even.
great game.
I didn't even think about it because I'm thinking Portland moving on. So I'm thinking about the prediction with the Suns. Matter of fact, I had Portland Lakers moving on. So I'm thinking, how can we beat the Lakers with those 3 starting guards we got? So that's running through my mind. But now that I got a night to think about it,
Yeah, I might need a night too.
yeah. Well, I thought about it last night. You know, I stayed up till 4 a.m. watching the Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. I was watching The Last. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Phoenix in this series. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Phoenix. I think Phoenix can present problems against the Nuggets that we couldn't present to them. Like I said earlier about Chris Paul being able to calm the team down. Jay Crowder. I don't know. Well, Wilk, you caught the beginning of the last night game when Jay Crowder he just came in hitting threes.
Man,
Yeah, I think Jay Crowder is that type of player that's going to be able to neutralize Michael Porter Jr., get him in one of those games where get his confidence down early. Because once the thing I noticed about him, if his confidence is down early,
yeah, he gets checked out.
Yeah, he's not gonna have a good game. So yeah, I definitely got Suns. I think that series gonna go the distance though. I got the Suns in 7.
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna go with Denver just because I want to see. I really hope that this becomes a Michael Porter Jr. breakout series. But you're right. I mean, he's not mentally as strong. Yeah, he's still young. But it would be amazing to see a lot of Booker versus, MPJ. And that would be crazy because Booker is, when it comes to offensive capability, is there really anything he can't do on the court? Devin Booker, as far as shooting with range, dribbling, off the dribble, catch and shoot, mid-range, things of that nature, attacking at the rim. Michael Porter Jr. has the size and the capability of doing it. So the mental is what I worry about. But I will say one thing about him is he rebounds ridiculously well, for a guard, being as young as he is. But I'm going to go Denver in 7.
I got Suns in 6.
Devin Booker is knocking on that superstar door. I think this series he kick it down.
Can Ayton hurt or can Ayton slow down Jokic?
That would be my only concern. But Jokic got to guard him too. Like Jokic's gonna have to work. He's going to work. If he can work and still get them triple doubles and put them numbers up and run that offense, it might go 7. But I think they're gonna wear Jokic down just with throwing different looks at him and making him step out and guard. He didn't have to play much defense in that last series. He just got to stand around and watch, get the ball, and then run the offense. So you got to make him work. And then I think Chris Paul, I don't think it's even a shoulder thing. I think it's more like a nerve thing. If Chris Paul can shake back and be who he is, he doesn't have to score 20. He just got to get, like you said, he's got to run the show, get these boys pacing right, and we'll just get it. I think we got too much for him. But shooting, if we get streaky and the shots don't fall, it'll be a long series for us. But if we stay in rhythm, do what we do, work through Ayton, and let Booker do his thing, Suns are 6, man.
Jeremy, do you worry about Chris Paul's health?
I always have, and I said that with Phoenix's training staff, they're gonna get him right, and they did. Like the regular season, he didn't miss much, and he just happened to have a freak incident happen that got him hurt.
Right.
So we need to go ahead and get the bull short testosterone, the cream and the clear, get all that ready, shoot their shoulder up, get them nerves together, man. We need him for the long haul. We can't have him going down and missing time. Like he has to be, even if he can't play, man, you better sit there and help Monty coach.
Yeah, what Chris Paul's doing with Booker is amazing, though. It would be dope to see Booker like in a Western Conference Final really become a superstar with the tutelage of Chris Paul. That would be actually really
Oh yeah,
a great thing for Chris Paul's resume.
Right. He's helped like Chris Paul makes everybody's job easier because Booker the playmaker. I don't like Booker the playmaker because he tries too hard. When Booker has to just score and you got to focus on scoring, man, clear out, let him do work. Because I was getting mad at the game last night where we were missing shots and Booker wasn't getting the ball. I'm like, man, give Booker the ball in ISO. You want to burn clock? Let it get down to 10, give it to Booker and move.
Do you think Booker could be slowed down by these guys, Will Bartons and the Denver Defenders?
No.
Simple answer.
No. Sean, who you got, Sean?
5. I don't think so.
I got the Suns winning the series only because I just think the Suns backcourt without Jamal Murray, I just think the Suns backcourt can dominate the series. You know, I don't know. I don't think Barton's coming back.
He's out. You're right.
That sound familiar because I said the same thing. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it's a different. It's a different.
Like Stephen A. talking about Barton, man. Damn.
Yeah, certainly.
Hit me with the Teddy
yeah, but the X factor in the series for me and the matchup I'm most interested to see, you know, is Michael Porter Jr. being guarded by Mikal Bridges. Bridges is a very, very good perimeter defender. And if he can make Porter Jr. inefficient, because I don't think you're going to stop him, because at 6'10", the guy can get any shot pretty much he wants. But you just got to make him inefficient. He can't go 8 for 12. You got to make him go 8 for 20. I think Phoenix wins the series. And also, I trust Phoenix's bench a little bit more now after seeing what Cameron Payne and what Cam Johnson were able to do against the Lakers. And Sarge, I think, is going to be a factor in this series as well. So I'm taking the Suns. That being said, I don't think either team can beat Utah in the series if Utah is healthy. So
I ain't get to give my take on that. I just said Suns at 6 and it kind of went a little crazy. Sean made a great point. It's the backcourt, right? So if we go back to last year, Donovan Mitchell was putting up ridiculous numbers. Then you look at this previous round, Dame Lillard was able to just have his way. We think Booker not about to eat? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. The bag deep. The bag deep.
Yeah. And I would say too, if I'm Phoenix, what they did in this series, Lakers series, that I think they got to do more of in this series is you got to get Booker the ball on the move. When if it's a lot of stationary and ISO because of Denver's length and athleticism, particularly with Gordon and with Michael Porter Jr., I think that bodes well for Denver defensively. Get Booker on the move more. I'm not saying you got to run a bunch of pin downs and screens for him like Klay Thompson, but just get him the ball on the move more. And I think I think it's going to be interesting if they do that. So but I got the Suns winning the series. Yeah, I got the Suns winning the series.
Hey, y'all want to talk about Brooklyn and Milwaukee right quick?
Oh man, that match fire, boy. That's a 7-game series.
In the whole playoffs, man. That should be.
I think Giannis had his best 2 games of the series, best 2 games of the season against Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I think he didn't. Both games, somebody was missing too. Not that would affect Giannis directly, but that would affect Brooklyn's scoring ability.
Yeah, and also I got Bucks in 6. I think when your 3 best players are top flight defenders, that's a problem. And the other team's 3 best players don't really like playing defense. I always go with the top flight defenders. And also, I don't think Brook Lopez has had a Brooklyn Nets resurgence in this playoff thus far. He's rim running. He's catching the ball on the block. He is a problem. And Brooklyn has no answer for him And also when Milwaukee comes in with PJ Tucker, and they have PJ Tucker on the floor with Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday, and who cares, whoever else, that team defensively is very good. So
Drew
and
Holiday
again,
scary, man.
yeah, and also expect watch for Giannis to play a lot of the 5 this series as well. I think they're going to try to get some shooting on the floor next to Giannis, so you'll see Connaughton play a lot more. Obviously, Bryn Forbes will play a lot more. So I think Giannis is going to play at the 5, and if he plays at the 5 again, Brooklyn has no matchup for that, especially with Jeff Green hurting. So I got Bucks in 6.
Not only Giannis, but then if Giannis is playing the 5, you can throw who I think is a very slept-on acquisition from them, Portis.
Yeah, Portis. Yeah,
Right.
Who's second in the league in 3-point percentage.
Boy, got
So,
to man.
yeah, so yeah, he's a problem. So yeah, I think, and Drew Holiday, the matchup I think is going to be Drew Holiday guarding James Harden. I think you put him on Harden. The reason why it's Harden's the head of the snake.
Yeah.
If you can make Harden work and you can keep his playmaking to a minimum, it does not help Brooklyn. Brooklyn, when they're going ISO, it's your turn, my turn. That bodes well for the Bucks. It's when they're getting that 30, 35 assists mark, and because Harden has 12, 13, 14 assists, that's when they're tough to beat.
Harden, man, he's such a great passer.
2 X factors for that series.
Yeah.
The one for Milwaukee is going to be Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday can allow Giannis to be Giannis and Chris to be Chris, that's going to be trouble, because that's what happened when they played the Heat. Like, he was the catalyst. He made sure everybody, like, it's the CP3 effect, so to speak, for them too. Let everybody be where they needed to be who they were. They didn't have to add playmaking onto their plate because they got somebody that can put everybody in the right spot, and they can go get their own bucket.
Right.
And the X factor for the Nets, we know the big 3 gonna be the big 3. It's gonna come down to Joe Harris. If Joe Harris can shoot lights out and keep the help side honest, it's gonna make it tough for him. Because I mean, he was putting the ball on the floor, going to the rim. He was doing all types of stuff. So if he's playing like he wants to be one of the big dogs too, with that offense they got with their punch, it's gonna be tough. But I want to go with the Bucks, but I gotta say Brooklyn in 6.
That's how I feel. I feel like the Bucks is the logical answer. The Bucks is the logical answer. You have better coaching with Bud. You have better defense, right? It's clear, better rebounding. But star power. And then also, if you want to think about Kyrie and his history with the Bucks, he had a very horrible showing as a Celtic playing against the Bucks. And so I don't know if that's going to be a demon or if that's going to be a revenge thing where he could actually kind of redeem himself, remembering how horrible he looked when he was a Celtic. And he kept shooting shots, kept missing, and then started talking shit in the media. And like, he's just very indignant, about how terrible he looked in the playoffs. And that was against the Bucks.
Yeah.
So, but I have to go Nets in 6, man, just out of pure star power. Harden, Drew Holiday Harden is very interesting. But Harden, if he was not injured, would have easily led the league in assists. And can Kevin Durant look 100%? And then what will Kyrie do? I just see too much star power. Basically, this is going to outscore. But yeah, the Bucks should win, but star power,
I mean, Brooklyn can't come out there starting Blake Griffin at the 5, bro.
No.
Blake Griffin can't be. Is DeAndre Jordan hurt or anything, or he just not getting any playing time?
He's just not getting playing time.
But
now, bro, Bucks are tall. Bucks are tall. You got Lopez, Giannis, and then even the guards are kind of tall. So Kyrie and Harden are kind of small in comparison to like the Middletons and the.
Harden 6'5". Harden 6'5". So that's
and he's strong as hell. He's strong as hell, but Kyrie is kind of small. Kyrie's kind of small.
James Harden 6'5", but he like a short 6'5".
James Harden is a great post defender. Like James Harden, he's a great post defender.
You can ask Will, man. I used to
But can
clown
Drew
Harden.
Holiday bother James Harden?
Used to call that boy James Harden because he had no defense.
Yes, he
But
can.
he's definitely improved on it big time. Like he plays defense when he wants to. And it seems like more often than not, he wants to play. He wants to win. He wants to get that monkey off his back about not stepping up in the big games. And I think that hunger for Harden to wanting to be great, to get back to the finals and take that where he went ghost against the Heat, I think he wants to get that off him too. So even if Harden shoots bad, Harden's the best passer in the Eastern Conference. So he's going to be putting people in the right place. They just got to put the ball in the hoop.
Right. Yeah. And to answer the Drew Holiday, James Harden question, yes, he can. I think most of these guards in the last 10 years have said that Drew Holiday is the toughest matchup defensively in the league. He can cause a problem. Now again, how much is Brooklyn going to play high screen and roll to get Harden free of Holiday, and I expect Holiday to kind of go a little old school and really just fight through the screens. Go under, try to make, again, for me, if I'm playing him, I want Harden as a scorer. Shoot all you want. I'm going under screen, take all the shots you want, because that's less touches for KD and Kyrie, who's high volume, needs a lot of touches. I want to take away, that from him. And to the Joe Harris point, Joe Harris is a key, but is he going to get enough touches in this series as possessions slow down? Because a lot of his shots tend to come in transition, or when just, the backside defense isn't paying attention, and they literally are just letting him float, on the backside of the defense. So,
right. And Shamat too, or whatever that kid is.
No, Shamet, yeah, he's been consistent. I wouldn't overly worry about him. The other guy in this series for Brooklyn is Bruce Brown. Who is Bruce Brown going to guard in this series? Because he's got to play. And I think he's got to play at least 30 minutes a game for Brooklyn to have a chance. Because he's their one guy that's defensively is generally locked in that way.
Is this a championship? Are we watching because we always say the winner of this series is coming out the East. Is the winner of this series winning the chip?
No, depending on Embiid's knees. Depending on Embiid.
That's what I'm going to say. If Embiid's hurt, if he's compromised, Atlanta might pop them board.
Will, you want to speak on that, Will?
Well, I ain't get on the Nets and the Bucks.
Oh yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, the Bucks got size. Like it's quite simple, man. They got the size, they got the length, they got the coaching, they got the continuity. Then you bring in a guy like Drew Holiday. It's a lot that they got going on, And all that said, man, I got the Nets in 6.
How can you go against all the star power?
You want to speak on Atlanta and Philly? Philly playing without Embiid.
Atlanta in 6 of Embiid is limited.
I agree.
In 6. In 6.
If Atlanta beats Philly, we got to put a lot of respect on their name, bro. That's gonna be huge. That'd be huge for Atlanta as a city, just everything, man.
Well, that's a good team, man, and they got like me and Luke said it. They got the right coach for load management and injury. Anybody get hurt, Nate can make it work, man.
Well, the thing is, my bad. Go ahead.
Now, what I was gonna say was,
Quentin, that's a good question.
Atlanta is going to make Ben Simmons shoot the ball. Like they're probably gonna literally double team somebody just to keep him open to where he's gonna have to shoot the ball. Ben refuses to shoot. I think he can. I think he just doesn't want to prove people wrong. But if you want to go to the conference finals, sir, I'm gonna need you to start taking jump shots or, thread pump. Do pump fake. It's not even in his repertoire, bro. Because they know you're not shooting the ball.
All right, so this is all I gotta say about that. Let me be very, very clear here. I do not think the Hawks are better than the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm a Hawks fan. We all know Philly is the better team. Now, Philly is 10-11 in games played this year without Joel Embiid. That's why I think it changes drastically, right? If Joel Embiid plays, Clint Capella can't do nothing with him. I don't care about how great a defender Capella is. Embiid is too skilled, too big. So what happens? You're gonna have to double. You're gonna have to do something. When you do that and you don't rotate correctly, Philly got snipers. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that out there. The thing is, when Embiid's not there, or if Embiid is limited, I think we match up great with them. DeAndre Hunter is a pit bull defensively. You know what I'm saying? So I think Atlanta is a very slept-on team. Do I think we're championship contenders? No. I'm fine. I'm fine if Embiid plays and we get eliminated in 5 games. I'm cool with that. We're getting that experience. Right. But what I'm saying is the national media has not been talking about Atlanta because Atlanta is just not a sexy team, right? We've been injured. We went through a mid-season coaching change. We were 14-20. Everybody wrote us off. I said this in the group. It's crazy that the healthiest that this team has been was in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
That's crazy. So their starting lineup of Trae Young, Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella, prior to the first round series, these guys played a total of 15 minutes together this season.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So if Embiid doesn't play, man, it's going to be a problem because Trae Young really going to – I mean, what they going to do? They're going to put Ben Simmons or Matisse Thybulle on Trae Young. Yeah. And what I was trying to get what his name is, I can't remember the dude's name in the group. Trae Young plays differently than a Russell Westbrook or a Bradley Beal, right? Trae Young is not taking you one-on-one. Trae Young is utilizing the screen. So, yeah, you can put Ben Simmons on Trae Young. Trae Young will take the screen. He's going to get into the lane.
Make the right pass.
It's going to be a forward or it's going to be allowed. Or if you bring if your perimeter defenders are not what's the word I'm looking for? If they don't, if they leave their man, he gonna throw that whip pass across court on the money, and we got snipers. So he plays a different brand of basketball than Bradley Beal. So it's not like, Ben Simmons is on him, let's ISO and go to work. Man, Trae ain't doing it. Man, Capella come set the screen. JC come set the screen. You know what I'm saying? So I like our chances if Embiid doesn't play. If Embiid plays, it's over because we don't have an answer for Embiid.
Yeah, if Embiid doesn't play, I'm not expecting Steph Curry to drop 30 points every time.
So
every game.
I got a question for you. I got a question for you as a Hawks fan because I was kind of doing some film study on this yesterday. If you're Nate McMillan, defensively, who do you want Trae Young guarding in this series?
Okay, so and I'm glad I said this in the group too. Okay, so in my opinion, we saying if Embiid's there or not?
I'm saying Embiid is there.
Okay, so if Embiid is there, I say he has to go at Danny Green, and this is why. This is why. Yeah. The reason why I say Danny Green is because Danny Green is I would say Reggie Bullock is a poor man's Danny Green, right? He's not gonna handle the ball. He's not gonna put you in pick and roll situations to where you really have to defend. Man, he gonna spot up. Just stay home, Trey.
Right.
Just stay home.
Yeah, and then the second question is because I was doing so I went to the Hawks game last week. I thought the Knicks played it stupidly, and then I was at a Hawks game. It was D-Wade's last year because I'm a Heat fan. So I went to the Heat game a couple years ago when D-Wade was still playing. And the thing I think teams make the mistake of with Trae Young in the high screening role is because, again, that's how he's going to get open, is rather than switching it, you have to blitz him high and force whoever that screener is to drop free throw line, which in this case, generally it's going to be Capella. They use Gallinari in that space, but when it's Capella, I want to force Trae Young to get the ball up to Capella at the top of the free throw line. Let Capella make a decision from there. Mm-hmm. I kind of expect Philly to do quite a bit of that in this series, particularly in the fourth quarter. Maybe not the entire game, but in the fourth quarter, if they're going to run that, if Capella's on the floor in the fourth quarter and they want to run that 1-5 high screen and roll, you have to blitz Trae off of that. You got to blitz him. Make Capella be the guy at 15, 18 feet from the basket, making that decision. And again, Bogdanovich, Herter, Gallinari, we know those guys can shoot. Collins is hitting some shots. but I want Capella to make the decision about where that next swing pass is going to go. And again, I expect Philly defensively to do that a little bit.
I got a question for you. If Embiid doesn't play,
Mhm.
do you anticipate or do you feel like we should go limit Capella's minutes, right? So you look more of a John Collins, Gallinari. So to your point, if you do run that, you got a John Collins or a Gallinari making that decision rather than the Capella. Because I don't trust Capella.
Yeah.
If Trey has to give the ball up early to Capella, it's a turnover. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Capella's only good offensively to catch that lob, man. I hate
Yeah.
when he get the offensive rebound and throw a hook shot up there.
Yeah, and so if Embiid doesn't play, my expectation is they'll start Thibault, and which means Ben by proxy will shift to really the 5,
Right.
defensively. So I think Collins or Bogdanovich, or I'm sorry, not Bogdanovich, Collins or Gallinari playing the 4 and the 5 is actually better if Ben shifts to the 5. The only concern is he's playing the 5, but he's bringing the ball up,
Right.
and he's operating at the top of the key. So how much, is that? I don't know. Is that me? I don't think that's me.
Yeah, I was like, it sounded like someone eating like some Ruffles chips.
So yeah, I would expect if Thibault starts, Ben's playing the 5, but he's still operating as the primary ball handler. How far away defensively do you want Collins or Bogdanovich in that matchup playing from the basket from a rebounding perspective? That's the only concern.
If that's the case, I would say John Collins would then defend Tobias Harris, and you put DeAndre Hunter
on Ben. Okay, yeah. So yeah,
talking about Tobias Harris the GOAT.
Oh yeah, we got to do the group that said a dude in our sports group said
Mike Antonio. Shout out Mike Antonio, man. He said Tobias Harris is the GOAT.
Hey, listen, Tobias Harris is their closer, and he's shown this year he is that guy late in games. I mean, he averaged 20 points a game this year as really their third best player. He could be. I think he's the difference in the series. The matchup with him and Collins, if Embiid plays, is the difference in the series for me. I don't know if Collins can win that matchup, and not because Collins is a bad player. I just don't know if he's experienced enough to win that matchup yet. And again, to your point, this is great experience for the Hawks. If I'm a Hawks fan, I'm excited. When I was at the game last week, I'm like, man, they're
young, man.
So let me say this. I don't want to start any controversy. I've always said Dominique Wilkins is the most overrated superstar in the history of the league.
Oh, ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. And Carmelo Anthony second.
Not Melo.
Yeah. Just because I came up in an age where if you were a superstar, you had to do 5 things great to be a superstar. I know that doesn't exist anymore. Well, Trey, to me, is a 5-thing superstar now. That he's with his scoring, his ball handling, his passing, his leadership. He's not great defensively, but he competes defensively, which is all you're going to ask. He at least competes. And then that clutch factor. They're late in the game, with the ball's in his hands, he's going to find a way to come through. So I think he's.
Hold on. I need to hear why Dominique is an overrated superstar. I especially need to hear why Carmelo Anthony was an overrated superstar. You can start with anyone. Start with anyone first, but I need to hear these explanations.
So Dominique, by virtue of playing in Atlanta, where there were no real great athletes in his time here, right? Until Dion got here in 90. There were no great athletes. The Braves weren't, whatever. And the Falcons were atrocious, of course. So Dominique, by virtue of playing in Atlanta, playing, for the Hawks, and because of the highlights, got propped into this superstar, world. But I've always argued, there are 4 small forwards in the 80s who were far better than Dominique. It's just Dominique was a guy who, again, because of the putbacks and the dunks and the scoring, got propped into that. But he did nothing else. And
so are you saying Dominique is Blake Griffin?
I'm saying Dominique is Carmelo with better athleticism.
Big dunks. Carmelo with big dunks.
Yeah. Carmelo with better athleticism. So, and I mean, and this will tell you everything. So when they built the statue for Dominique at the arena, or they announced they were doing it, Larry Bird came out and said, "Well, I know it's not going to be in a defensive posture."
Hey, Larry's the best shit talker,
I'll say this. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I do think it was something to be said about like his athleticism during that time, and that would kind of elevate him more than his actual the totality of his game.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to speak on, and you hit this right on the head, because I've been saying this in our group as well regarding Trae Young. Trae Young has a slim build and he's small, so he's never going to be a great defender. But he does compete defensively. He does. He gives effort on that end. And guys, don't want to say I get in arguments with guys all day long. So, Trae, he doesn't do anything. No, man, he competes. He's just too little. He can't do nothing.
He improved actually from his rookie year. He improved.
He's improved. And give Nate McMillan credit.
Terrible as a rookie.
Yeah, give Nate McMillan credit.
Trae's best defensive effort is giving you 30 and 15. You put him in the corner so he doesn't have to guard anybody because he's coming on the other end and he's getting you a bucket 9 times out of 10. You let him be what he is. You don't want him to put on 20 pounds of muscle and become a great defender. It's taken away from his offense. You just put him out there, let him, like Wolf said, let him take the Reggie Bullocks, and they sit in the corner, and he works when we got offense.
So hold on, hey, we straying off topic. We straying off topic. We strayed off topic. So okay, let me think. Dominique Wilkins, his most impressive thing he did in the NBA was what?
Dunking on Bird.
The dunk contest.
Scored a basketball, man.
Yeah, he was a legit scorer.
He was a
legit scorer. Yeah, I mean, taking that away from him, he was a legit scorer. And again, he was an athletic freak in the time where there were so few of those guys.
Right. Like Vince Carter playing in the '80s and shit.
Yeah, almost like Vince in the '80s. Yeah, he was just an athletic freak. But Larry Bird, Bernard King, Adrian Dantley. James, those guys were better.
James Worthy, yeah,
his position.
So I think it was the '86 Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. The '86 Celtics that was known as the greatest team before the '96 Bulls, but the '86 Celtics. I don't remember if it was that year or the year after.
It was the next year when they played against the Hawks in the semifinals. That could have been in the argument. He could have been 51. I don't think he was 51. I think Bob McAdoo was 51. But he was a very, very good player. But I don't done. He's the only one that I thought shouldn't have made the list. But that being said, I think there was a reason why the media, players, the coaches, the GMs who voted for that list did not include Dominique in that number. Because again, I just don't think he was the guy everybody tried to make him up to be.
So, your point about Carmelo, when you said, Wilkins was never the top 4 player in his position, small forward. Does that go with Carmelo too? Because I feel like Carmelo it seemed as if it was LeBron and Melo, right? For a long time, but I mean, of course, you have the T-Max, the
Paul Pierce,
the Paul Pierce. I would even say like it seemed like Dirk and KG could play like a face-up style of forward.
You can't include Dirk and KG in a small forward.
Okay, but we weren't used to seeing the face-up. We weren't used to seeing we're used to seeing the post game, so they was facing up. But I guess you're right. We'll leave them out. But would you say that Carmelo was not a top 4 small forward?
The issue with Carmelo for me has always been Carmelo is one of the most dynamic one-on-one scorers I've ever seen.
Facts.
His ability to put the ball in the basket is without question, right? But he also was a guy who that's what he did in college. So did Carmelo
understand
Carmelo done anything in 18 years in the NBA different than what he did in college? Has he gotten better? is the question.
Ooh. I see. Man. Do you think that him being blackballed was like that humility that he needed? Because he seems like a team guy now. Like he seems like, I mean, of course he's old. You know, he's old now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
But
the thing
Billups,
is,
that was Billups' argument. Billups was saying like, this dude is selfish.
yeah, I think Olympic Melo has always been the best Melo. He's a guy, he can come off the bench and be your designated scorer. That's where he's at his best. But he's not a guy who, if he's your best player, I'm not even sure if he's the guy, if he's your second best player that you win a championship.
So hold on.
You like him in that team player role where you pass him, but if we need to score, we know you can put up 30-40. If we
Right, yeah.
needed to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say I do disagree with that last take. I think in his prime he could be your second to best player. I think if you put him, I don't know what teams in the 2000s was dominant.
Chicago. If he wins
Chicago.
he wins the
Chicago. I
championship.
think if you put him next to Derrick Rose, in that Miami Heat series, I think Carmelo adds that dynamic that the Bulls need to beat the Heat.
I don't know if they beat that Heat team.
Oh, they compete with them. Because you can't.
You compete with them, but I don't know.
You would have to put LeBron on Carmelo. LeBron not gonna be able to guard Derrick Rose.
When LeBron played Melo played like the best player in the league for some reason. And
he did it with McGrady too. He did that with McGrady. He did it with Pierce too. Melo had a crazy series against Boston.
Yeah. So I agree with you. You had to put LeBron on Melo, but Wade at that point wasn't washed. His knees were still decent. So I think he could go. I'm not saying he's stopping Derrick Rose. I think he can guard Derrick Rose. That's why I'm not sure they beat that Heat team.
That series went 5. I think that series game 7 in Chicago. It's just all opinion. We can't prove it. Prove it. But
that Bulls team was really good. But but also what I always tell people that helped the Heat was they had guys who had experience. The Mike Millers, the Udonis Haslams, those guys had been in playoff battles. That Bulls team, that was really their first time going through that. And again, when you give Carlos Boozer the money you gave him, and again, I'm not even worried about Carlos Boozer right now, but the point is,
oh my God,
it was just, it was just, anyway, so maybe in that scenario, July, he could have been, but I just think he was just a guy who was never going to sacrifice the best part of his game to do the other parts of his game that winning calls for. Right. There's great scorers who, said, you know what, Isaiah Thomas is a great example of that, right? Isaiah Thomas, first half of his career, could average 25, 26 a night, but they were losing. And then the second half of his career realized, you know what, I need to be an 18, 19 point guy a night, make sure other guys are involved. We need to be a better defensive team, and they win. I don't know.
You can say that about MJ and Kobe because they both kind of didn't trust teammates until Kobe got into the Gasol era, and then he started trusting teammates.
Yeah,
and then same thing with MJ. He was a great scorer, but then when Phil came in, he was able to do what Doug Collins wasn't able to, which was tell him, "Look, you got to trust your team."
Yeah,
and so like the coaches and all these other players.
Yeah, and Kobe's a different argument. I have a different take on Kobe. Because I think Kobe wanted to be MJ so bad he tried to marry Juanita. But Kobe had the pleasure of coming up where he wasn't the guy early on. That team was uber talented even before they got Phil. They had a lot of talented pieces. Right. So he got to come to his own, basically on his own. There was no pressure on him to become that guy, from day one. So, a little different argument with Kobe, but yeah, I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had an argument, and this is for another podcast, but that Bron and Kobe would have been better players had they played some college hoops. They would have been better players had they played some college ball. Because if you look at Bron, he plays the Bron system. and Kobe as well, they didn't learn how to, like, if they had like a Mike Krzyzewski, a Dean Smith, or somebody to teach them systems, teach them these things. Yeah, they'll be slightly older when they get into the league. Man, they would have took off so much savager. Like, as far as, that's one thing Michael Jordan had, was he learned how to play within a system, and then he learned how to be also that star, and then he had an amalgamation of both things when Phil came. So,
That's what's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that, because I've always argued that about Jordan. I know people have Jordan as the GOAT. It's 1A, 1B for me, because I have Kareem as the GOAT as well.
okay, yeah, that's fair.
But I always say Jordan played for two in their profession, two
Best
of the 5 best coaches ever in their profession
all time.
of all time. When you talk about Dean Smith, I mean, Dean Smith's on most people's Mount
Man.
Rushmore, and Phil Jackson's on most people's Mount Rushmore of all time coaches, and he didn't win without either one of them. So,
Nice.
for as great as he wasn't lifting Stan Auerbach and, Ken Lockery and Doug Collins.
Man.
championship.
That's true.
But yeah.
That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. We can get into that later.
Yeah, and I got to get ready to run here in a minute, because I got to
Appreciate you, man.
things, man. But yeah, appreciate, man, y'all guys, man. Definitely a lot of fun, man. And like I said, man, July Wilt Brothers, man. Let me know if y'all need me to come back on. I'm always game. Whatever y'all need from me, I can, I definitely try to support y'all, because I love seeing brothers do big things, of course. So.
We appreciate
And
it.
everybody follow his platform as well. I'm gonna have to definitely
got
follow.
to,
I
man.
see a lot of knowledge coming out of this man. So.
Oh, yes, sir. I feel
shout out-
honored just to be here, man, with all this up here, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben A. But
Honest
as
mind,
always,
brother.
y'all have a blessed one, fellas. We're about to wrap it up.
All right, y'all, brother. Be
Yes,
easy.
sir.
All right.
Y'all
Be
be
safe
good.
out there, man.
For
Yes,
sure.
sir.